The city of New Avalon was perpetually cleaning its glasses. By day, holographic advertisements scrubbed the sky of any offensive natural blueness, replacing it with 50-foot-tall models sipping zero-gravity soda. By night, the glittering towers washed the streets in argon and neon, ensuring no one had to suffer the indignity of actual darkness. It was a city of polished surfaces, drone-delivered ramen, and an ambient, underlying hum that promised the future was not only bright, but also incredibly convenient. Beneath that sheen, however, lay the truth, a tangled web of anomalous energy conduits, black market tech exchanges, and back-alley data brokers. New Avalon was a hub, though 9.99 million of its 10 million inhabitants did not know it. They just knew the rent was impossibly high. Noah Carter knew it better than most. He was, technically, a physicist. Or he would be, once he finished a dissertation on predictive data modeling that felt increasingly less predictive and more like institutional hazing. To pay for this privilege, he was a teaching assistant by day, attempting to explain quantum mechanics to freshmen who stared at him with the polite, vacant expressions of hostages. By night, he was Anchor, a freelance cybersecurity consultant. It sounded impressive. In reality, it meant he sat in his boxers until 3 a.m, running penetration tests for mid-level corporations whose idea of security was adding an exclamation point to their password. The two jobs, combined, still left him 500 credits short on this month's rent for his tiny 71st floor apartment. Noah stared at the eviction notice glowing on his transparent wall screen. It was polite, as all things in New Avalon were. It wished him wellness and synergy, before informing him he had 72 hours to remit payment or explore alternative co-living solutions. Alternative co-living solutions, Noah muttered, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Like a gutter, but with better branding. He was a good person, mostly. He recycled. He held doors for delivery drones. He was intelligent, with a sharp, self-deprecating wit that he used as a shield. His primary mode of operation was conflict avoidance. He did not like drama. He just wanted to finish his degree, maybe get a cat, and figure out why the faint, web-like scar over his left pectoral muscle always seemed to itch when it rained. It was the only thing his parents had left him. That and a lifetime of unanswered questions about the lab fire that had taken them when he was 6. The official report was a redacted mess of corporate jargon. The scar, the doctors had said, was just a peculiar burn, but it did not feel like a burn. It felt like a circuit diagram. He sighed, the sound lost in the city hum. He ran a hand through his perpetually messy brown hair and turned to his terminal. Avoidance was no longer an option. He pulled up the New Avalon Housing Network and typed out the digital surrender. Roommate wanted. He kept it simple, professional. Research students seek quiet. Responsible roommates to share 2-bedroom apartment. Must be clean, no drama. Must pay on time. He specified the rent. Exactly 50%. He read it over. It sounded desperate. It sounded like him. He hit post and leaned back, closing his eyes. He just wanted someone normal. A boring accountant. An equally stressed grad student. Anyone who would pay their half and pretend he did not exist most of the time. He did not need complications. His life, he felt, was quite complicated. Hundreds of miles above him, in the cold, unforgiving vacuum. Complications were arriving at 40,000 miles per hour. The sky over New Avalon flickered. It was not a storm. For precisely 2.3 seconds, a jagged line of impossible. Violet light tore a hole in the stratosphere. It was silent, vast, and witnessed only by a handful of insomniacs and one very confused orbital traffic controller, who promptly blamed the anomaly on a solar flare and went to get more coffee. From this tear, something small and impossibly black tumbled, shedding plasma and stealth plating. It was a Valyrian Imperial courier, state-of-the-art, and it was on fire. Its internal navigation systems, compromised and failing, latched onto the brightest, most stable energy signature it could find. Not the city's fusion grid, but the ancient, dormant power lines of the planet itself. The ship, trailing vaporized metal, plunged into the city's outskirts. It did not create a crater. It phased through the ferrocrete crust and slammed directly into a primary subterranean energy conduit, vanishing from sight and sensor logs in a single, catastrophic burst of static. The global monitoring networks, designed to catch everything from rogue asteroids to unregistered satellite launches, registered nothing. A peculiar field of interference had precisely scrubbed the event, like a hand wiping chalk from a blackboard. Deep within the mangled, smoking wreckage, a single escape pod hissed open. Aurelia Sarin, the rightful Empress of the 12 Valyrian star systems, fell out onto the grimy conduit floor. She was not an Empress today. Today, she was a fugitive. Today, she was the sole survivor of a bloody coup, orchestrated by her uncle, Regent Karth Malin. He had turned the Imperial fleet against her, slaughtered her household guard, and broadcast her execution order across the galaxy. She had escaped with her life, her honor, and a single corrupted data file on a backwater. Border planet, she stood, ignoring the searing pain in her ribs. Her royal nanite armor was shredded, her ceremonial robes torn. She was alone, disarmed, and hunted. She activated her wristcom, a simple silver band. The device flickered. "Database," she commanded, her voice hoarse but retaining its innate, aristocratic authority. A fractured hologram projected onto her palm. Earth. Status border planet. Civilization level low temp fission. Early computational. Population easily convertible. It was an old Valyrian scout file, centuries out of date. But it was all she had. Her uncle's purge had been thorough, wiping her access to the Imperial archives. She had been forced to download this relic from a pirate server during her escape. Begin cultural assimilation protocol, priority infiltration, and survival customs. The data file, however, was not clean. It had been bundled on that pirate server with terabytes of ancillary human data. As Aurelia's comm began to feed information directly into her cortex, she did not just receive grammar, currency, and basic social structures. She received a deluge of Earth's unfiltered digital ID. She absorbed the complete works of Shakespeare, followed immediately by 300,000 pages of amateur spaceship captain fanfiction. She learned about human monetary systems, cross-referenced with advertisements for personal injury lawyers and discount lingerie. She processed the entire concept of memetics, the societal importance of cats in boxes, and, crucially, a vast, contradictory archive of health blogs, lifestyle articles, and late-night infomercials. Her brow furrowed. Human culture was chaotic and obsessed with nudity. A directive was formed, based on the file's primary recommendation for infiltration: acquire local currency, secure shelter, blend in. But as her system processed the planet's energy grid, it found something else, something the old Valyrian scouts had missed entirely. It was faint, a resonance sleeping beneath the city's technological noise. It was an echo of a power she had only read about in forbidden texts. An ancient, terrifying power, an anchor. Her mission instantly changed. She was not just here to hide. She was here to find the source of that resonance. It was her only hope of survival, her only chance to reclaim her throne. She pulled the tatters of her armor from her body, leaving them in the wreck. She found a discarded, oil-stained hoodie on the conduit floor, likely left by a maintenance worker. She pulled it on. The hood shadowed her face, a face that could launch fleets, now streaked with soot and grim determination. She followed the hum. The resonance. It led her up, out of the tunnels, and into the rain-slicked streets of New Avalon. She moved like a ghost, her Valyrian physiology allowing her to blur past the few late-night stragglers. The resonance grew stronger, pulling her toward a specific tower in the city's residential district. It pulled her to apartment 7104. Noah was trying to sleep when the chime rang. It was 4 in the morning. No one visited him, ever. Especially not at 4 in the morning. He assumed it was the landlord, coming to explore alternative co-living solutions with a crowbar. He stumbled out of bed, pulling on a pair of jeans. He peered through the digital peephole. A woman stood there. She was drenched. She was wearing the single filthiest gray hoodie he had ever seen. The hood was pulled low, but he could see she was eyes beneath the grime, unreasonably beautiful. Like, distract a pilot into crashing a starship is beautiful. He opened the door a crack, the security chain still on. "Can I help you?" The woman looked up. The woman, her eyes were the color of that violet light that had flickered in the sky. A detail Noah would only realize much later. She held up a thick, damp stack of paper currency. It looked like thousands of credits. "I am an ideal Earth roommate," she said. Her voice was a low, melodic contralto, but the English was stilted, the accent unplaceable. It sounded like someone had taught her the language using a broken synthesizer. Noah stared. "What, it's 4 a.m. The ad's been up for, 6 hours. "I am clean," she stated, as if reciting a sacred text. "I will create no drama. I will pay on time." She pushed money through the crack in the door. It hit Noah in the chest. Noah looked at the cash. He looked at the eviction notice still glowing on his wall. He looked at the woman. She was weird. She was probably in some trouble. This was the very definition of complications and drama. But that was so much money. It was 6 months' rent. His conflict avoidance battled his desperation. Desperation won. It won easily. "You're hired," he said, fumbling with the security chain. He let her in. She stood in his entryway, dripping on the floor mat. She was radiating a strange, palpable cold. "I am Aurelia," she said. "Noah," he pointed awkwardly. "That's the spare room. The bathroom is over there. Are you okay? You look like you got dragged behind a bus." She tilted her head, processing the idiom. "The transport was suboptimal. I require sustenance. And then, rest." "Right. Kitchen's over there. Help yourself. I think I have leftover pizza." He retrieved a standard digital lease agreement from his terminal, the one he had prepared just in case. He printed it on a flimsy sheet of recycled paper. "This is just the standard agreement. Say you'll pay your half. You won't burn the place down. 30 days notice. You know." Aurelia took the pen from him. She held it like it was a strange, primitive weapon. She scanned the document, her eyes moving at an impossible speed. She signed her name at the bottom. The signature was not in English. It was a complex, beautiful, and slightly terrifying series of geometric shapes. "Good enough," Noah mumbled, countersigning. He had no idea that the document he had just signed, when witnessed by a Valyrian Empress in hiding, was recognized by interstellar law as a royal cohabitation contract. A binding pact of mutual protection and sanctuary. "Well," Noah said, stifling a massive yawn. "Welcome to New Avalon. I'm going back to bed." He retreated to his room, locking the door. He listened for a moment. He heard the refrigerator open, A pause. And then the distinct, horrifying sound of someone biting directly into a frozen pizza. "Weird," he muttered, collapsing onto his pillow. "Definitely weird. But she paid." Sleep took him instantly. The next morning was what changed the world. For Noah, at least. He awoke at 9, late for his TA session. He bolted out of bed, his mind fuzzy with sleep and the lingering weirdness of the night before. He needed coffee. He needed it more than he needed oxygen. He stumbled out of his bedroom, running a hand through his hair, and headed for the kitchen. He was halfway across the small living room when his brain finally caught up with his eyes. He stopped. The coffee cup he was holding slipped from his fingers. It shattered on the floor. Aurelia was standing in front of his open refrigerator. She was humming a strange, discordant tune, and she was completely, unequivocally, and startlingly naked. She was not sexy naked. She was inspecting a failed science experiment naked. She held a carton of milk in one hand, sniffing it with clinical curiosity. Her back was to him, and it was a tapestry of faint, silvery scars, starkly beautiful against her pale skin. Her black hair was damp, slicked back from her face. Noah made a sound. It was not a word. It was a high-pitched combination of a squeak and a gasp. She turned, unhurried. Her expression was not one of embarrassment. It was a mild inquiry. "You have broken the liquid container," she observed, her violet eyes scanning him. "Is this a morning ritual?" Noah's brain was a blue screen of death. He was staring. He could not stare. He was also trying very hard to look at the ceiling, the floor, the broken cup anywhere, but the very naked Empress in his living room. "Clothes!" he finally managed to yell, his voice cracking. "Why are you? Where are your clothes? Put on clothes!" Now, he spun around, facing the wall, his entire body blushing so hard he thought he might pass out. "I do not understand the agitation," Aurelia's voice said from behind him. She sounded genuinely confused. "I am adhering to standard Earth health protocols." "Standard Earth what protocol?" Noah yelled at the wall. "My cultural database is comprehensive," she stated, her voice drawing nearer. He heard the refrigerator door close. "All authoritative sources, Dr. Oz, Cosmopolitan magazine, and numerous online forums concur. Sleep naked is the established guideline for optimal hormone regulation, skin breathability, and REM cycle efficiency. I assumed this was universal standard practice." Noah turned around. It was a mistake. She was now standing directly in front of him, close enough that he could feel the strange, cold aura coming off her skin. He yelped and shielded his eyes with his arm. "That's for sleeping," he squeaked. "Alone or with it's not for breakfast. People wear clothes. Robes, pajamas, anything." Aurelia tilted her head, her gaze analytical. "Ah." The database was unclear on the post-sleep transition period. The files on bathrobes were filed under luxury and decadence. I deemed them non-essential for infiltration. She looked down at her own body, then back at him, as if he were the strange one. "Why are you so distressed? It is merely a biological chassis." I just... Noah was failing. His vocabulary was gone. "Or," she continued, a new hypothesis dawning on her face, "are you a member of a minority sect, one of the ascetic purification cults that views the body as inherently shameful? My data mentions several, the Puritans, the Midwest." "I apologize. I did not realize I was cohabitating with a primitive." "I am not a primitive," Noah shouted, his frustration overriding his embarrassment. I'm just a normal guy who doesn't want his roommate a roommate he met 5 hours ago walking around naked. As she stepped closer, a sharp, tingling pain erupted in his chest. Noah gasped, clutching the scar on his pectoral. It was burning. He looked down. Through his t-shirt. He saw it. A faint, intricate circle of pale blue light had appeared, glowing on his skin, perfectly framing the old scar tissue. It flashed once, twice, and then vanished. Aurelia's eyes went wide. The casual, analytical curiosity was gone, replaced by a sudden, stunning intensity. She stared at his chest, her mouth slightly open. "The resonance," she whispered, not to him, but to herself. "It is you." Far above them, cocooned in the silent darkness of high orbit, the Valyrian warship Inexorable Will drifted, its stealth fields shimmering. On its command deck, Regent Carthmalon watched a sensor display. A tiny, weak signal had just appeared on his screen, originating from the planet below. It was a signal he had hunted for decades. A sensor technician turned, his voice tense. "My Lord Regent, we have a lock." "The signal is weak," Carth mused, his fingers steepled. "But it is unmistakable. The last anchor, hiding on this primitive mudball." He smiled, a cold, thin expression. "The Empress was a fool to run here. She has led us directly to the true prize." He turned to his fleet commander. "Mark this planet. Prepare the retrieval teams. I want the asset, and I want my niece." The morning after the Broken Cup and Naked Empress incident began with a treaty. Noah, his face still burning a shade of red that clashed with his pajamas, had retrieved his heaviest bathrobe and thrown it at her. "Rule 1, he had declared, pointing a shaky finger. "We have Rule 1 now. This," he gestured to the thick terry cloth, "is mandatory. In all common area. At all times. We are not a nudist colony. We are a slightly below-average apartment." Aurelia, now wrapped in the absurdly large robe, had looked at him with genuine, clinical curiosity. "This is inefficient. The fabric creates suboptimal friction against the skin. My database clearly states that unrestricted lymphatic drainage is improved by 12% without artificial coverings." "Otash." "I don't care about your lymphatic drainage," Noah had practically shrieked. "I care about my sanity and my retina's clothes. Aurelia, Rule 1. Clothing." She had sighed, a long-suffering sound that seemed more appropriate for a queen dealing with a petulant court jester. "Very well. I shall adhere to the clothing accords, but I maintain this is a primitive and unsanitary local custom." Life, Noah quickly learned, did not get less weird. It just got weird in new, unexpected, and often catastrophic ways. Aurelia, it turned out, was a genius at theoretical astrophysics and Valyrian battle strategy, but profoundly, dangerously incompetent at everything else. Their first attempt at shared dinner was ramen. Noah handed her a styrofoam cup. "Just add hot water." He returned 5 minutes later to the shrill scream of the smoke alarm. Aurelia was standing over the nutrient paste in a cup, which was now melting into a toxic puddle. A faint beam of energy shot from the silver band on her wrist. "What are you doing?" Noah yelled, waving smoke from the detector. "I am reconstituting the nutrient paste," she said, looking annoyed. "The instructions were unclear. This thermal device is calibrated for starship hulls, and it appears to have overpenetrated the polymer container. You shot it with a laser. It's noodles. You put it in the microwave." "A microwave." She tested the word. Yes. The radiation-based heating device? Primitive, but effective. I shall remember. She did not remember. The next day, she put a single, delicate silk tunic, one he had no idea where she acquired, into the ancient washing machine, along with an entire bottle of high-efficiency detergent. Noah and his new neighbor, Jade Park, had to evacuate their floor due to the sheer volume of foam, which had breached the apartment door and was slowly filling the hallway. It was soiled," Aurelia had explained, poking at a mountain of bubbles. "In my court, the imperial launderers would be summarily punished for such a failure, perhaps even spaced." "This isn't a court," Noah sputtered, trying to dam the bubbles with a snow shovel he found in a utility closet. "And you are the launderer." Her incompetence extended to recycling. She could not comprehend it. "But this is madness," she argued, holding a plastic water bottle and an apple core. "You are meticulously separating valuable polymers from organic waste, but you use the same inefficient gravity-based disposal system for both. A low-yield fusion core would vaporize all of it into base elements in less than a nanosecond. Your infrastructure is designed for failure." "It's the blue bin. Aurelia, the blue one is plastic. The green one is compost. It's not hard." It is philosophically baffling. For Aurelia, the adjustment was just as jarring. She, who had commanded fleets, she, who had debated economic policy that affected 1 trillion souls across 12 star systems. She was the rightful heir to the sun throne of Valir. She was now being taught, slowly and with much exasperated sighing, how to use a toaster without setting the bread on fire. And the anchor, the galaxy's most feared mythical weapon, was this man, this kind, anxious and beast, perpetually stressed man who seemed genuinely distressed by excessive soap. He was brilliant in his own chaotic way. She saw that. But he was soft, untrained. He had no idea what he was. It was, she decided, the universe's cruelest joke. Noah, for his part, was beginning to suspect Weird Exchange Student was not the full story. Even before the full-scale domestic disasters, there were the small things. He was a data slinger. He lived in the code. He noticed anomalies. When Aurelia sat in the living room observing him work on his dissertation, his laptop screen would flicker with static. "Please reposition your chassis. Aurelia," he would mutter, not looking up. "You are interfering with my data flow." Then there was the hallway camera. As a cybersecurity freelancer, Noah had, of course, bypassed the building's fragile security protocols and had direct access to the feeds. He liked to know who was coming and going. The camera on their floor was high definition, crystal clear. He could see Mrs. Rodriguez in 7102 walking her synth cat. He could see the delivery drones. But whenever Aurelia walked by, her face and body would dissolve into a cloud of pixelated static. It was not a glitch. It was a void. It was as if the laws of digital information simply broke in her presence. And then there were the tongue slips. "This landlord you speak of," she said one evening, "this person who demands tribute for your habitation. Why do you tolerate him at court? We would simply have him arrested for extortion." "That's just called rent, Aurelia. And we don't arrest people for it. A flawed system." The final piece of the Aurelia is a menace puzzle, arrived in the form of Jade Park. The doorbell chimed, a sound that still made Noah jump. He opened it to find his neighbor and best friend leaning against the doorframe. Jade Park was an indie game designer, a whirlwind of energy who currently sported neon pink hair and a black t-shirt that just said "Null" in stark white text. She was holding a six-pack of Cyber Stallion synth beer. "So," Jade said, pushing past him, "the cryptid. You finally found a roommate." The landlord didn't evict you after the great foam flood of 2058, Noah corrected, rubbing his eyes. And we split the fine. Jade entered the living room and died. Aurelia was there, sitting cross-legged on the floor, attempting to assemble a piece of IKEA furniture with her laser band. She was wearing one of Noah's old university hoodies and a pair of his sweatpants, making her look like a disgruntled, impossibly beautiful supermodel who had been forced into witness protection. "Oh," Jade said. She turned to Noah and lowered her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Okay. Wow, who is she? She is way too hot to be answering your ad. Is she a bot, a high-end synthetic? Please tell me she's not a bot." "Jade, this is Aurelia." "Aurelia, this is my friend, Jade." Aurelia looked up from the warped, smoking particle board. She analyzed Jade for a moment. "Greetings, Jade Park. Your cranial adornment is suboptimal for camouflage or combat, but the color is aesthetically stimulating. It is a bold sign of dominance." Jade blinked. Then she grinned. "I love her. She's insane." She flopped onto Noah's couch and cracked open a beer. "So, what's the deal, corporate spy? She feels like a corporate spy. Trying to steal your dissertation." "She's an exchange student," Noah lied, weakly. "From very far away." "Bullshit," Jade said, taking a sip. "She's a rich kid LARPing poverty. Look at that bone structure. That costs at least 1,000,000 credits in genomic optimization. She's slumming it. Or she's running from a very expensive scandal." "I am not slumming it," Aurelia said, having clearly heard every word. "I am in strategic exile. See," Jade pointed at her. "Exile rich kid words." That night, real complications began. In her room, Aurelia stared at the silver band on her wrist. The device was her life. It was her comm, her translator, her analyzer, and, in dire circumstances, her personal shield. Its power cell, designed to be recharged on a Valyrian warship's core, was dangerously low. It glowed a faint, pleading red. Without it, she was truly blind. The electrical sockets in the apartment were, as she had complained to Noah, like trying to fill an ocean with a single drop of rain. She needed power. Real power. She left her room and moved silently to the main utility panel in the hallway, hidden behind a cheap landscape print. She opened it. The building's main data and power conduit. This would have to do. She interfaced her device with the thick, throbbing cables. Just a draw, she thought. A few gigawatts to replenish the core. In a city this size, they will never notice. She drew the power. The lights in the entire apartment building dimmed for 3.5 seconds. The hum of the city outside momentarily faltered. In her hand, the silver band flashed a healthy, brilliant blue. She did not know she had just triggered a silent, multi-trillion credit alarm. Miles away, in the tallest, sharpest, most arrogant tower in New Avalon, an icon flashed red on a minimalist desk. The office was sterile, white, and overlooked the entire city. The glass wall was etched with a simple, elegant logo, Helios Dynamics, CEO Morgan Hale. A man who looked like he had been sculpted from marble and expensive suits. Looked at the icon. He did not react, but a flicker of interest passed through his cold eyes. "Sir," a voice from his intercom said, "Grid analysis just registered an anomalous energy signature. High yield, non-terrestrial profile. Sector 71E residential tower. It matches the Valyrian imperial signature we have on file." Morgan Hale steepled his fingers. So, the Regent was right. One of them did make it to the surface. He activated a secure, long-range transmitter. The air in his office shimmered, and a holographic image of Regent Carthmalen appeared. The regent was on the bridge of his warship, imposing and severe. "Regent," Hale said, his voice smooth and deferential. "We have a signal. The package you were looking for is in New Avalon." Carth's hologram smiled, a thin, cruel expression. "Excellent, Mr. Hale. Your cooperation with the Empire will be rewarded when this world is brought into compliance." "I look forward to it," Hale replied. "We live to serve." The hologram vanished. Morgan Hale's smile remained, but it held no warmth. He served Helios, and Helios served only profit. The domestic tension in apartment 7104 was reaching a breaking point. Noah was trying, and failing, to fix the washing machine, which was still leaking soapy water from the foam flood. "Damn it," he muttered, pulling his hand out of the machine's guts. "This thing is fried. The logic board is completely shot." He stood up, wiping grease and soap on his jeans, and saw Aurelia's silver band sitting on the kitchen counter. She had left it there. He stared at it. It was sleek, seamless, and humming with a faint, latent energy. It was the source of all the weirdness. He was a tech guy. He was a physicist. He could not touch it. "Maybe this thing has a manual," he muttered. "Or a reduced soap setting." He picked it up. The metal was cool and strangely light. His fingers, stained with grease, brushed against a nearly invisible seam. The device, fully charged and near the anchor, activated instantly. A three-dimensional hologram exploded into the small apartment, so bright and vast it bleached the room of color. Noah yelled and dropped the device, which clattered to the linoleum floor but continued to project. It was a wanted poster, a royal bounty. It showed Aurelia's face, not as the confused roommate, but as a queen. She wore a crown of black metal and light, her expression cold, regal, and terrifying. Beneath it, Valyrian script resolved into English text: Aurelia Sarin, deposed Empress, traitor. A list of crimes, scrolled by sedition, treason against the Star Throne, conspiracy with unsanctioned alien species. And at the bottom, a number that made Noah's stomach drop: bounty 1 trillion, imperial credits, dead or alive. Noah was backing away, his hands raised, as Aurelia appeared in the doorway of her room. She saw the hologram. She saw Noah's face, pale with shock and a dawning, terrible understanding. The lie, fragile as it was, shattered. "Noah," she said, her voice quiet. "Aurelia," he replied, his own voice shaky. "What is this? Because it looks like you. And it says Empress, and traitor, and 1 trillion credits, Aurelia's shoulders," which had been slumped in exasperation at the broken washer, straightened. The air around her seemed to grow colder, heavier. When she spoke, the stilted, confused accent was gone, replaced by a voice of pure, melodic authority. "That is me," she said. "My name is Aurelia Sarin, rightful Empress of the Valyrian Empire. I am a fugitive. My uncle, Regent Carthmalen, has usurped my throne, murdered my family, and I am being hunted across the galaxy." Noah stared. All the pieces clicked into place. The static blur, the laser beam, the talk of court and tribute, the impossible, alien beauty. He leaned against the wall, sliding down it slightly as his knees weakened. "So," he said, his voice cracking into a high-pitched, terrified sarcasm. Just so we're clear, I'm not harboring a weird exchange student from Sweden, or something. I am harboring an intergalactic war criminal." "I am not a criminal," Aurelia corrected him, her eyes flashing with violet fire. I am the victim of a coup. Potato! Potato! Noah shrieked. You're wanted by space cops. Are space cops coming here? Oh my God! I'm an accessory to space treason. They're going to space me. You said you space people. I cannot leave, Aurelia said, stepping toward him. They are not just hunting me. Noah, they are hunting you. Me? Why me? He yelled. I'm nobody. I'm a TA. I write code. I can't even fix a washing machine. Because of what you are, she said, her gaze fixed on his chest, right where his scar was hidden. You are the anchor. Before she could explain what that meant, someone slammed their fist on the apartment door. It was not a polite knock. It was a rhythmic, metallic thud, thud, thud. Noah, Jade's voice yelled from the hallway, panicked. You home, your damn washing machine just flooded my bathroom. The ceiling is caving in, and there are 3 of the ugliest, biggest guys I have ever seen coming up the emergency stairs. They look like off-brand bodybuilders. The warning came too late. The apartment door did not open. It exploded inward, ripped from its hinges as if it were paper. 3 men stood in the doorway. They were massive, well over 7 feet tall, and clad in bulky, dark trench coats. Their human disguises were already failing, their skin looking gray and waxy under the flickering hall light. Multi-lensed eyes glowed red. They raised heavy, non-terrestrial rifles, plasma. Give us the Empress, one growled. Its voice was a synthesized translation, flat and menacing. And the anchor, the Regent demands it, Jade, who had been standing right behind the door, screamed. Aurelia moved. She was not a confused roommate anymore. She was a warrior. She grabbed Noah and Jade, shoving them bodily toward the back of the apartment. Run to the roof! She activated the silver band. A shimmering, hexagonal shield of blue light formed on her forearm. She slammed it into the first hunter as he entered, the impact sending him crashing back into the hallway with the sound of breaking armor. Anchor what? Like a boat thing, Jade screamed, as Noah dragged her by the hand. Noah, what the hell is going on? They scrambled out the ruined doorway, over the wreckage, and burst into the emergency stairwell. They hammered up the concrete steps, the heavy, thudding footsteps of the hunters echoing right behind them. They burst onto the rooftop. It was a wide, windswept space, filled with massive air conditioning units and communications arrays. The lights of New Avalon stretched out below them, a sea of glittering jewels, indifferent to the drama unfolding 71 stories above. The 3 hunters emerged onto the roof a second later. They fanned out, their movements precise and brutal, cutting off the only escape route. The female is irrelevant, the leader growled, raising its rifle. It was aimed at Jade. No, Noah yelled. Jade, get behind me, Aurelia commanded, raising her small arm shield. She stood before them, a tiny, defiant figure against the 3 giants. You will not have him, the first hunter fired. A bolt of coherent, superheated plasma, glowing a sickly red, shot across the roof. Aurelia blocked it. The shield held, but the kinetic force was overwhelming. She was thrown backward, skidding across the gravel, and slammed into a ventilator unit. Her shield flickered and died. The second hunter ignored her. It turned its weapon on Jade, who was frozen against the ledge. The flesh is weak, its synthesized voice buzzed. A good motivator. Jade, move, Noah screamed. The hunter fired. Time broke. For Noah Carter, the world stopped. The red plasma bolt, sizzling and bright, crawled through the air. He could see the molecules of superheated gas spinning within it. He saw Jade's wide, terrified eyes, a tear frozen on her cheek. He saw Aurelia's face, halfway through a cry of, no. His panic vanished, replaced by a single, cold, absolute thought. No, He did not run. He did not push. He simply willed it. He shoved his hand out, not toward the bolt, but toward Jade. The scar on his chest, hidden beneath his shirt, erupted in the same pale blue light he had seen that morning. But this time, it did not fade. It burned. The plasma bolt stopped. It hung in the air, less than a foot from Jade's face. Then, it bent. The bolt turned a perfect 90 degrees in midair. Its trajectory warped. It was not pushed. It was pulled. It spiraled inward, drawn not to his hand, but to the center of his chest, like iron to a supermagnet. It did not hit him. A foot from his t-shirt, an invisible, spherical barrier formed. The bolt flattened against it, the energy spreading out over the unseen curve like water on glass. Then, with a sound like a single, deep cello string being plucked, the energy harmlessly dissipated into the air. Time crashed back to normal speed. Jade collapsed against the vent, panting, her hand clapped over her mouth. The two other hunters, seeing their companion's shot fail, fired simultaneously. The same thing happened. Two more red bolts shot across the roof, only to be caught in Noah's invisible gravity well, bent from their paths, and neutralized against his personal, instinctive shield. The hunters stopped firing. They stared, their multi-lensed eyes wide with something Noah had not expected. Fear. Aurelia was staring too. She had pushed herself to her feet, her hand pressed to her side. Her face was a mask of pale, stunned awe. "It is true," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It is not a myth." She looked at Noah, who stood there, his hand still outstretched, his chest glowing with a faint blue light he could not see, a power he did not understand. "You," she said, "you are the thing the galaxy fears." The lead hunter, recovering, lowered its weapon and raised its comm. Its voice was no longer flat. It was urgent. "Target confirmed. The anchor is active." Again, "Human anchor is active. Level 10 potential. Retrieval is impossible. Send everything. Send the fleet." Far above, on the bridge of the inexorable will, Regent Karth Malen watched the footage from the hunter's helmet cam. He saw the plasma bend. He saw the light. He saw the untrained human controlling gravity by instinct alone. He smiled. "He is magnificent," Karth breathed. "And he is utterly untrained, a weapon waiting to be aimed." He turned to his communications officer. "Mr. Hale, the test is a resounding success. Proceed with the Festival of Lights protocol. I want my invasion force on the ground within 48 hours. It is time to reclaim our property." The rooftop was silent, save for the wind whistling through the ventilation units. The three bounty hunters were gone, having activated some kind of emergency teleport recall, leaving behind only the smell of ozone and a large, smoking scorch mark. Jade Park was sitting on the gravel ledge, her knees drawn to her chest. She was shaking. "So," she said, her voice unnaturally high. "Okay, space cops, plasma guns, naked roommates, who are actually space queens. And you," she pointed a trembling finger at Noah, you just matrixed a laser beam." "Did I eat a bad synth taco? Am I having a stroke, Noah? Tell me I'm having a stroke." Noah was leaning against the stairwell door, his own legs feeling like jelly. The blue light in his chest had faded, but the scar itself was throbbing, warm to the touch. "I don't think you're having a stroke, Jade." "Damn it," she whispered. Aurelia limped over to them, pressing a hand to her ribs where the plasma blast had thrown her. Her regal composure was back, but her eyes, when she looked at Noah, were wide with a terrifying, profound awe. "We must leave," Aurelia stated, her voice sharp. "My apartment is compromised. Yours is a disaster zone. Jade Park, your habitation, We must use it. Whoa, hold on, Your Highness, Jade said, scrambling to her feet. My apartment is a one-bedroom indie dev nest. It is not equipped for galactic fugitives. And my ceiling is still leaking your stupid soap. We do not have a choice, Aurelia said. They are gone. But they will be back. And they will not send 3 hunters next time. They will send an army. They ended up in Jade's apartment. 7107. It was as advertised. A single cluttered room filled with high-end computer rigs, stylized game posters, and stacks of energy drink cans. Jade triple-locked the door, jammed a chair under the knob, and then turned on them. Okay, explanation, now, before my brain melts out of my ears, and use small words. They sat on her futon. Noah, still numb, deferred to the Empress. Aurelia took a deep breath. She explained the Valyrian Empire, a civilization that controlled 12 star systems, thousands of inhabited worlds. She explained her title, her lineage, and the coup. My uncle, Regent Karth Malen, believes the Valyrian race is superior to all others, Aurelia said, her voice tight with suppressed fury. Our empire is built on a system of protectorates. We find worlds, strip them of their resources, and give them back Valyrian stability. It is slavery, gilded with propaganda. I wanted to end it. I wanted to give these worlds autonomy. So you're one of the good guys, Noah said, relieved. That is a matter of perspective, Aurelia said, looking away. My reforms were seen as treason by the warhawks and the noble houses that profit from the protectorates. My uncle used their fear, and the help of a human corporation called Helios Dynamics, to stage his coup. He murdered my family. He framed me as a traitor, a human sympathizer who would destroy our way of life. He hunts me, not just for revenge, but to silence my claim to the throne. Okay, Jade said, processing. Bad uncle, evil corporation, got it. Standard video game plot. But what about him? She pointed at Noah. What was that on the roof? The gravity thing. Aurelia turned her gaze to Noah. It was heavy. The Valyrian archives are the oldest in the galaxy. Most of our history is classified. But I accessed the forbidden texts. I know the truth. Centuries ago, there was not one galactic power, but two, the Valyrian Empire and the human ascendancy. Noah laughed, a short, sharp, terrified sound. Human what we've barely made it to Mars. We're still arguing about pineapple on pizza. Not your humans, Aurelia said. The ancients, your ancestors. They were formidable, dangerous. They did not travel the stars in metal ships. They bent space to their will. They were a network of beings who could rewrite the laws of physics. They were called the Anchors. And you, Noah, are one of them. She explained that the official imperial records, the ones given to the public, stated that the human ascendancy had grown arrogant, consumed itself in a civil war, and self-destructed, leaving only degenerate, low-level descendants on border planets like Earth. But that, too, is a lie, Aurelia said, her eyes dark. It was not a civil war. It was a war against them. My ancestors, the Valyrians, were part of the coalition that fought to eradicate the human anchor network. We helped destroy you. Because you were too powerful. Because the galaxy feared you. My entire empire, the throne I was raised to inherit, is built on the ashes of your ancestors. Noah stared at his hands. They were trembling. So I'm a weapon, a descendant of a race of galactic monsters. You are a descendant of a race we chose to call monsters, Aurelia corrected him. And now, my uncle knows you are here. He does not just want me. He wants you. He wants to capture you, control you, and turn the power of the human anchor network into a weapon for his new, aggressive empire. You are the only thing that can stop him, and you are the prize he desires most." "Well," Jade said, slumping back into her chair, "we are spectacularly screwed." They needed to train. It was absurd, but it was the only option. "The texts said the power is one of will," Aurelia explained, pacing Jade's small kitchen. They had cleared a space on the floor. "You must visualize the outcome, feel the fabric of reality, and pull the thread." "Right. Fabric. Threads. Got it," Noah muttered. He sat cross-legged, closing his eyes. He tried to feel the universe. For an hour. He felt nothing. He felt the recycled air from the vent. He felt a slight headache. He felt the growing, crushing weight of anxiety. "I can't," he finally burst out, standing up. "I can't just will it. On the roof, I was terrified. Jade was about to die. I wasn't thinking. I just reacted. I can't just turn on terrified for my life mode. Then you are useless to me," Aurelia snapped, her patience gone. "Hey," Jade interjected, walking in with 2 cups of synth coffee. "Back off, Your Highness. He's new to this whole bending reality thing." "What is this?" "Anyway, intergalactic meditation. You look like you're about to sell him essential oils." "It is not meditation," Aurelia seethed. "It is a quantum-level will projection." "He's a physicist, not a wizard," Jade retorted. She handed Noah a cup. "You're thinking about it wrong. When you were on the roof, what was it like?" Noah frowned, sipping the coffee. "It was like a bubble, like I was in the center, and the world was on the outside. The plasma bolt tried to enter my space, and the rules in my space were just different. The math was different." "The math was different," Noah repeated, his eyes lighting up. "The math." He put the cup down and ran to Jade's main development console. He sat, his fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. "What are you doing?" Aurelia demanded. "I can't visualize the universe," Noah said, pulling up a complex 3D modeling program. "It's too big, too abstract. But I can visualize physics." He loaded a simulation. A simple ball being fired at a simple cube. "This is a game engine, Jade's. It runs on a physics simulation, gravity, velocity, mass. It's all just variables." And on the roof," Noah said. "I just applied a local modifier. I created a new instance where the variable for external projectile trajectory was null, and the variable for gravity was exponentially increased, pulling inward." Aurelia stared at him. "You are comparing the fundamental power of creation to a toy." "Yes, exactly," Noah said, excited. "It's just a user interface. I don't need to be a god. I just need to understand the UI. I'm not bending reality. I'm just debugging it." He found a meme in his data files, a popular one of a cat swatting a glass off a table. He pasted it into the simulation. "This is me. I'm a cat. The plasma bolt is the glass. I'm just swatting it away." "Nope." "That's the command." "Nope." Aurelia looked at Jade. Her expression, one of profound, galactic disbelief. "He is going to try to save the planet with memes and faulty mathematics." "Welcome to Earth, Your Majesty." Jade grinned. "It's how we cope." "Now, watch," Noah said. He stood up and walked to the window, across the alley. He could see the wreckage of his own apartment. The wall was cracked, a concrete support beam exposed. "This isn't a simulation, Noah," Aurelia warned. "Be careful." "I'm not trying to bend the universe," Noah whispered. I'm just applying a localized force. He stared at the beam. He visualized physics. He imagined a single, focused, invisible hand pushing in. He focused all his will, all his anxiety, all his fear, into that one simple command. A deep, groaning crack echoed across the alley. A perfect, fist-sized indentation appeared in the solid concrete, as if it had been punched by a giant. Jade dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the floor. "Holy," she whispered. "Holy shit." Aurelia simply stared. Her breath caught in her throat. He had done it. He had controlled it. Not with millennia of Valyrian meditation, but with a physics engine and a cat meme. This human adaptability was terrifying, and, she had to admit, deeply compelling. While Noah practiced denting concrete, and, to Jade's horror, one of her old, broken monitors. Jade turned her own attention to Aurelia's wristband. "That thing is your shield, right, and your phone?" Jade asked. "It is an Imperial command interface," Aurelia said, handing it to her stiffly. "It is quantum entangled with my flagship's core. Or it was, before my uncle seized it. It is damaged. Damaged. Yeah, but the hardware is insane," Jade muttered, plugging it into her own custom-built diagnostic rig. "The data architecture is whoa. It's beautiful. But your UI is absolute trash. It's all text-based. What is this? The Dark Ages?" "It is efficient," Aurelia protested. "It is slow," Jade countered. "And it's leaking data. I can build you a better GUI. And I can patch that energy signature you're bleeding. It's like you're walking around with a giant kick me sign for aliens." For the next 10 hours, Jade worked, fueled by energy drinks and a sudden, manic passion. Aurelia watched, horrified, as the human programmer tore apart her civilization's most sacred technology. Jade bypassed security protocols Aurelia herself had never been able to crack. She rewrote command prompts, created macros, and, to Aurelia's ultimate humiliation, changed the device's low battery alert from a dignified Imperial chime to a looped recording of a cat meowing. "It is desecrated," Aurelia whispered, holding the newly modified device. "It's better," Jade said, leaning back, exhausted but proud. "It's now running at 140% efficiency. The UI is all drag and drop. And I tied it into the local internet. You now get weather alerts. You're welcome." Aurelia looked from Jade, the human who had hacked a quantum computer in half a day, to Noah, the human who was now attempting to levitate spoons while muttering about vector variables. She found herself, much to her surprise, smiling. That night, no one could sleep. The adrenaline had faded, leaving behind the bone-deep ache of fear and exhaustion. Jade had passed out on her dev chair, snoring loudly. Noah was standing at the apartment's large window, looking down at the glittering, oblivious city. "They have no idea," he said, his voice quiet. "All these people, they're just living, going to work, worried about rent, and in 2 days, armies are going to fall out of the sky, because of me." Aurelia came to stand beside him. She had abandoned the bathrobe for another set of Noah's sweats, which were still far too large for her. In the dim city light, she looked less like an empress and more like a lost girl. "It is not because of you," she said. "It is because of what you represent." He touched the scar on his chest, a gesture she was starting to recognize. It's from when I was a kid, 6 years old. My parents were researchers, physicists, like me. They worked for Helios Dynamics." Aurelia's head snapped toward him. "Helios?" "Yeah, they died in a lab fire. That's what the report said. It was all very clean, very corporate. A tragic accident." He paused, his voice thick. I was there. I was in the building. I don't remember much, just heat. And alarms and a feeling, and this pushing feeling. Like I was in a bubble. The same feeling I had on the roof. I was the only survivor. They found me in a closet, totally unharmed. Not a burn on me. He looked at her, his eyes hollow. I always thought I was just lucky, that I found a good hiding spot. But what if I wasn't? What if I caused a fire? What if this thing in me killed my own parents? Aurelia was silent for a long moment. Or, she said, her voice soft, what if it was the only thing that saved you? You were an anchor, even then. A child, untrained, lashing out with a power you could not control, to protect yourself from something terrible. It was not your fault. Noah. He looked at her, at the woman who had also seen her family slaughtered. You lost everyone, too, in the coup. She nodded, her gaze distant, fixed on the city lights. I watched my uncle give the order. I watched his personal guard execute my father on the throne room floor. I was supposed to be next. My tutor, my oldest friend, died getting me to the courier ship. The sarcastic TA and the imperious Empress were gone. In their place were just two orphans, survivors of tragedies they could not control. Am I a monster, Aurelia? Noah whispered. If this power is what they say it is, am I the bad guy? She turned to face him fully. On the roof, you had all the power. The hunters were helpless. You could have killed them. You could have torn them apart. You did not. You used your power to defend. You shielded Jade. You did not strike. She reached out, her fingers gently touching the back of his hand. Her skin was cool. A monster does not get that choice, Noah. A monster is a monster. You are just a man, a stubborn, infuriating, and surprisingly brilliant man. And you are not alone. He turned his hand over, his fingers lacing with hers. A deep, profound empathy passed between them, a shared understanding of loss, and a new, terrifying but shared purpose. The next day, the resolve had hardened. Helios, Noah said, his voice firm. It all comes back to Helios. My parents, your uncle, the mercenaries on the roof. They're the ones helping Karth. They're the ones on Earth. Morgan Hale, Jade added, sipping her third energy drink of the morning. The CEO, the biggest, richest, most soulless bastard in New Avalon. I used to be an intern there, Noah said, a plan forming. For my undergraduate degree, in their data security division. My credentials are ancient. They've been expired for years. But Jade's eyes lit up, a manic fire in them. But I can make them unexpired. I can make you a ghost in their system. Oh, this is going to be fun. Let's go ruin a billionaire. They did not hit the gleaming white tower. They hit a sub-basement, a black site research lab hidden beneath an industrial warehouse in the city's old district. Noah's old credentials, reactivated by Jade, got them past the first few checkpoints. Jade, working on a terminal she carried, spoofed the internal security cameras, looping footage of an empty hallway. The lab was cold, sterile, and dark. What is this place? Noah whispered, as they moved past rows of dark, cylindrical tubes. Aurelia, her newly hacked wristband scanning the environment, stopped. Noah, look, she pointed. Inside one of the tubes, suspended in bubbling green liquid, was a person. Or it had been. It was a man. His body grotesquely altered. His arms were thicker, his skin plated with gray, chitinous armor. He looked chillingly like the hunters from the roof. They moved down the line, dozens of tubes, all filled with human-alien hybrids. Jade found a terminal. Her fingers flew. Project Chimera, she read, her voice sick. Helios is, oh my God, they're not just collaborating, they're supplying. These are human recruits, homeless, refugees, undocumented people no one would miss. She brought up a shipping manifest. Batch 04, delivered to Valyrian Regent Karth Malen. Expendable bioinfantry. Batch 05, sold to the Cathani Collective. Resilient shock troops. They're selling us, Noah said, his voice dangerously quiet. They are packaging and selling human beings as livestock, as cheap war resources. He thought of his parents. Was this what they died for? Had they tried to stop this? His eyes fell on a single data file in the server's root directory. It was different. The encryption was not Helios. It was not Valyrian. It was something else, something ancient. The file was named Ascendancy Failsafe. Noah, Aurelia said, sensing the energy coming off him. Do not. That is old. It's locked, Noah said, but the encryption feels familiar. He reached out and placed his hand on the terminal screen. He did not mean to. He just did. The anchor power in his scar flared, a silent, blue pulse. The screen recognized his energy signature, anchor signature confirmed, unlocking. The file opened. A hologram erupted in the center of the dark lab. It was not the crisp, blue-white light of Valyrian tech. This was blinding, burning gold. It showed a scene of impossible scale. It showed figures clad in armor made of pure, white light. They were unmistakably human. They stood on the bridges of ships the size of small moons. They commanded vast, unending armadas. One of them, a woman with a face like a star, pointed, and a distant nebula moved. Then, the scene shifted. The golden figures were turning their power inward. A great, silent scream of energy. They were unmaking their own fleets. They were erasing their own worlds. They were sacrificing themselves. A wave of self-destruction so vast it tore a rift in the galaxy. A voice, ancient and impossibly sad, echoed in the room. It was in no language, yet they all understood it. The network is broken. Ultimate sin requires ultimate penance. The ascendancy is over. The hologram vanished. The lab was dark again. On the terminal, a single line of text pulsed. Network status severed. Prime anchor signature detected subject Noah Carter. Query. Re-initiate human ascendancy. Network Y, and Noah stumbled back, hyperventilating. What? What was that? What was that? Aurelia was as pale as death. The legends of the Valyrian forbidden texts were true. The human ancients, they did not lose a war. They quit. They committed galactic suicide. Did that thing just ask you if you want to restart the human empire? Jade whispered, her eyes wide. Noah was shaking his head, backing away. No. No. I'm not that. I hate this. I hate violence. I'm no galactic emperor. He looked at Aurelia, and for the first time, he saw true fear in her eyes. It was not fear for him. It was fear of him. Noah, she said, her voice a trembling whisper. The legends said the ascendancy became a tyranny, that they consumed worlds, that they were monsters. If you press yes, what do you become? Will you be Noah, or will you be them? The conflict hung in the air, heavy and absolute. If he said no, Earth would be conquered, enslaved by his uncle. If he said yes, he might save Earth, only to become the monster that had terrified the galaxy into submission centuries ago. Miles away, in his sterile white office, Morgan Hale watched the feed from the hidden camera in the black site lab. He watched Noah's face, twisted in terror and indecision. He took the bait, Hale murmured. A small, cold smile touched his lips. His secure calm shimmered. Regent Karth Malin's hologram appeared. "He has seen the Ascendancy file," Karth's voice boomed. "He has," Morgan Hale confirmed, his voice smooth as glass. "He knows what he is. He is terrified. He is unbalanced. Ripe for manipulation. He will be easy to break." Hale gestured to his window, which overlooked the city square, where massive, elegant energy columns were being erected. "The Festival of Lights begins in 48 hours. Regent. A beautiful showcase of Helios technology, all to celebrate New Avalon." Karth's image smiled. "A beautiful showcase, and a perfect, concentrated energy beacon to lock onto. My fleet will use it to open the gateway. My armies will be on the ground before the festival's fireworks have faded. You will deliver me the anchor, Mr. Hale. And in return," Hale said, "you will deliver me this world, as its new Governor General." "A small price to pay," Karth agreed, "for the ultimate weapon." The city of New Avalon was holding its breath. The Festival of Lights, Helios Dynamics' greatest public relations stunt, was set to begin at 8 o'clock. The company had erected 12 massive, elegant spires of white metacomposite around the central plaza. They were sleek, beautiful, and advertised as the next generation of clean atmospheric energy, promising to power the downtown grid by harmonizing the city's magnetic field. From the shattered, reinforced window of Jade's apartment, Aurelia looked down on them with pure, undiluted contempt. "They are not harmonizers," she stated, her voice flat. "They are phase-array energy projectors. A keyhole. 12 points of synchronized force, focused on a single coordinate in the stratosphere. They are not powering the city. They are using the city's power to tear a hole in space." Noah was pacing the cluttered room, his hands clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. "So, Karth's fleet is just going to pop out over the city, tonight. In 2 hours. At 8 o'clock, Aurelia corrected him. "When the festival peaks, the energy draw is maximum. It will mask the signature of the gateway opening. They will be in low orbit before the atmosphere even registers the breach. We have to warn someone," Jade said, her fingers flying across her terminal. "The police, the military. Someone." "And tell them what," Noah said, his voice bitter. "That an alien armada is about to attack, led by the Space Queen's evil uncle. They'd lock us in a psychiatric ward." "He is right," Aurelia said. She turned from the window, her face grim. "There is no warning. We cannot stop the invasion. We can only survive it." She looked at Noah, her gaze intense. "My courier ship, the one that crashed, it is heavily damaged, but its main drive and stealth systems were shielded. It is in the conduit tunnels, 5 miles south of here. We can get to it." Noah stared at her. "Get to it? And then what?" "And then we leave," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "We flee this planet. We find my allies in the Outer Rim. We use your power, the anchor, to rally a counterfleet. We take back my throne, and then we return to liberate your world." Noah looked at her, as if she had just suggested they go out for ice cream. "Leave," he repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. "Just leave. And the 10 million people there. What about Jade's family? What about this planet? This planet is lost." Aurelia snapped, her frustration boiling over. "Do you not understand? This is not a battle. This is an execution. Karth is not here to negotiate. He is here to claim you. You are an asset, Noah, the most valuable, untapped strategic weapon in the galaxy. You cannot waste that weapon trying to save one city on one primitive world. That is not how war is won." The words hit him like a physical blow. "Asset. Waste. Primitive. An asset, he said, the words tasting like ash. Like those things in the tubes, like the soldiers Helios is selling. Is that what I am to you, too? Just a bigger gun. That is not what I meant, she said, her voice softening slightly, but her eyes remained firm. I am trying to be practical. I am an empress. I have to make the hard choices. Sacrificing this world to save the galaxy from Karth is a choice I am willing to make. Noah walked right up to her, his fear for the first time eclipsed by a cold, burning anger. Then you are no better than he is, Noah whispered. You said you wanted to change things, that you hated what your empire was built on. But abandoning this entire planet, writing off 10 million lives just for your personal revenge is not a new idea. Aurelia, that is Karth's logic with a different flag. Before Aurelia could answer, every screen in the room, Jade's computers, their hand terminals, the building's smart wall flashed to life. Morgan Hale's face appeared, smiling, pristine, and 10 feet tall. He was on the festival stage, 1,000 cameras on him. Welcome, New Avalon, his voice boomed, echoing across the plaza below. Welcome to the future tonight. We cease to be a city powered by the past. Tonight, we become a city of light. He raised his hands. Let the festival begin. At precisely 8 o'clock, the 12 spires activated. 12 beams of pure white light shot into the sky, converging on a single, invisible point. The crowd in the plaza cheered. Then they screamed. The sky did not explode. It tore. It was the sound Noah had heard in the lab. The sound of the Ascendancy hologram, a deep, vibrational tearing of reality. A jagged, violet wound opened in the clouds. It was not a hole. It was a rift, for a moment. All physics in New Avalon went insane. Gravity flickered. Cars on the streets below lifted a foot off the ground, then slammed back down. The city lights did not just go out. They burst in a shower of sparks. A wind, cold and smelling of ozone, blasted through the streets, shattering windows, and then came the rain. It was not water. It was a downpour of ionized particles, hot and sharp, that sizzled where they landed. The gateway, Aurelia whispered, her face pale with horror. It is open. From purple tears, ships emerged. They were not the massive star destroyers of Noah's imagination. They were sleek, black, and shark-like. Valyrian dropships, dozens of them, pouring through the rift like hornets from a nest. Panic, primal and absolute, seized the city. The sirens that wailed were not for a fire. They were for the end of the world. One ship, larger than the others, a command barge, descended rapidly. It did not bother with a landing pad. It crushed the main festival stage and the 12 spires under its weight. The sound of rending metal echoing across the plaza. A forward ramp lowered. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the ship's internal light. He was massive, easily 8 feet tall. But he moved with a disturbing, fluid grace. He was not a man in a suit of armor. He was the armor. Biomechanical limbs, gleaming black, were fused with gray, vat-grown flesh. His face was a mask of metal and optical sensors, glowing a dull, menacing red. "Oh, stars!" Aurelia breathed, taking an involuntary step back. "He brought him." "Who?" Jade asked, her knuckles white on her keyboard. "Warden Malik," Aurelia said, her voice trembling. "My uncle's right hand. His executioner. He is a null, a psychic black hole. He was engineered to hunt things like me, and things like you," as if he had heard her. Warden Malik looked up. His red optics scanned the chaotic apartment towers and fixed, instantly, on their shattered window. He knew. Noah felt it before he saw it. The low, warm thrum in his chest. The power of the anchor that had become a constant presence suddenly became cold. The throb in his scar did not just stop. It ached, as if a hand had reached inside him and squeezed. He felt empty, weak. "My interface," Aurelia said, frantically tapping her wristband. "It is dead. The connection is severed." "He is canceling us," Noah realized, the cold dread washing over him. "He is a walking off switch." Before he could finish the thought, the window exploded. Two soldiers, clad in the same dark gray armor as the hunters from the roof, burst through the opening on jets of blue fire. They were the Helios hybrids. They landed, their weapons already raised. But Malik was faster. He did not use the window. He came straight through the wall, concrete and rebar exploding inward. He stood in the center of Jade's apartment, his massive frame dominating the room. The air around him was frigid. "The Empress Aurelia," his voice synthesizer boomed. It was a cold, flat monotone, devoid of all emotion. Degraded, as predicted, Aurelia tried to raise her wristband, a useless gesture. "Malik, you will pay for this treason." Malik did not even look at her. He was staring at Noah. The anchor, Subject Carter, weak, untrained, a disappointment. He turned his attention back to Aurelia. In one impossibly fast motion, he crossed the room and grabbed her throat. He lifted her, her feet dangling, and slapped a metallic collar around her neck. "Nullification protocol," he buzzed. Aurelia choked, her eyes wide with pain. The last vestiges of her royal nanites, the tiny machines in her blood, became dormant. She was, for the first time in her life, completely powerless. "No!" Noah yelled, charging him. It was a foolish, useless, human gesture. Malik, still holding Aurelia aloft, backhanded him. The blow was purely mechanical. It sent Noah flying across the room, crashing into Jade's main computer rig, with the sound of breaking bones and plastic. "Jade!" Noah gasped. The wind knocked out of him. "Run, get out of here." But Jade was not running. She was at her terminal, her face a mask of furious concentration. "Not yet," she hissed, her fingers a blur. "Working on a little surprise, you tin can asshole. The native accessory." Malik buzzed, dropping Aurelia to the floor. He saw the terminal. He saw what she was doing. "Irrelevant." He raised his arm, a plasma caster charging on his wrist. "Jade, no!" Noah screamed. Malik did not fire. He paused. His red optics swiveled from Jade to Noah, who was struggling to get up, his ribs screaming in protest. A new calculation was being made. "Leverage," Malik's synthesizer stated. "The anchor is weak to attachments. A flawed design." He lunged and grabbed Jade by the arm, yanking her away from her terminal. "Hey, get your oily claws off me," she yelled, kicking him in the armored shin. It had no effect. "Aurelia!" Noah shouted, pushing himself to his feet. "I have my orders," Malik said. He dragged both Jade and the incapacitated Aurelia toward the hole in the wall. "The Empress is secured. The technician is useful. You are a failure." He pressed a comm on his helm. "Retrieval team. 2 captives. Set a charge. Cleanse the location." 2 of the hybrid soldiers grabbed Aurelia and Jade. Malik gave Noah one last, dismissive look. Then they activated their jets and blasted out of the apartment, leaving Noah alone in the absolute, ringing silence of his destroyed life. He was alone. He had lost. He had lost his city. He had lost his friend. He had lost the infuriating, terrifying, beautiful woman who was the only other person in the universe who understood. He felt his knees. The sirens outside, the distant screams. The roar of plasma engines had all faded. The Helios lab image filled his mind. The bodies in the tubes, cold, corporate evil Morgan Hale. The shipping manifests, expendable bioinfantry. The image of his parents' lab fire flashed. The heat, the alarms, the same cold. Corporate evil. A tragic accident. He saw Jade being dragged. He saw Aurelia, a collar around her neck. His despair was so total, so absolute, it became a vacuum. And into that vacuum, the voice returned, the voice of the Ascendancy Network. This time it was no whisper. It was a roar, a chorus of 1 billion dead, angry ancestors. They have taken everything. They will always take. They will always hunt you. They will always put collars on those you love. This is the cycle. The only way to end it is to end them. You have the power, Prime Anchor. You are the failsafe. Say the word. Say yes. Reinitiate the network. We will burn them from your sky. We will cleanse this world. We will make you safe. Say it. Noah clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. The grief and rage were so pure they were white hot. He was tempted. He was so tempted to just let go, to let the monsters out, to become the monster they all feared and end this, once and for all. Yes, he thought. Yes, a memory. Aurelia's face, in the dark of Jade's apartment, her hand in his. A monster does not get that choice. Noah, you are just a man. A memory of her, exasperated, holding a cup of noodles. You are going to try to save the planet with memes. A final memory. Her words from their argument, the ones that had cut him so deeply. Power without choice is just a chain. He looked up, his eyes streaming with tears of rage and loss. No. He thought about it. Then he screamed it into the empty room. No. The chorus of voices in his head recoiled, hissing in surprise. Not your way, he gasped, pushing himself to his feet. Not Karth's way. My way. He walked to the gaping hole in the wall. He could see the plaza below, now a war zone. The Valyrian dropships were strafing the streets. He saw one of them, low and fast, lining up a plasma run on the new Avalon General Hospital, where civilians were taking shelter. Okay, Anchor, he whispered, his voice shaking. Let's debug this. He did not focus on the ship. He focused on the people. He focused on the hospital. He visualized the simulation. He was not a god when he was just a firewall. He reached. He did not push. He did not pull. He expanded. A pale, translucent sphere of blue light erupted from his chest. It did not make a sound. It simply grew. It passed the building, silent and harmless. It expanded over the street, over the plaza, over the hospital. It grew until it was a dome, a perfect, shimmering bubble of different math, covering 10 city blocks. The Valyrian dropship fired. 3 bolts of superheated plasma screamed toward the hospital. They hit the bubble. They did not explode. They bent, just like on the roof. The energy, traveling at hypersonic speeds, suddenly found itself in a space where the rules had changed. The plasma streams warped, sliding harmlessly across the surface of the invisible sphere, like rain on a windshield. They deflected high into the atmosphere, exploding harmlessly against the clouds. Down below, the people saw. The panicked civilians, the few outgunned police officers, they stopped. They looked up, they saw the bombs bend, and they felt something else. The Anchor was not just a gravity well. It was a network, and Noah had just plugged himself into the human network. They felt his will, his defiance, his desperate, cold, human rage. It was not a command. It was an echo, a jolt of pure, irrational courage. a synchronization of defiance. The police officers, who had been hiding behind their cruisers, stood up. They aimed their useless, kinetic slug pistols at the sky, and they fired. The civilians who had been running stopped. They turned. They ran back, pulling the wounded from the streets, forming chains to get people into the shelters. They were terrified. But they were no longer alone. They were anchored. From a neighboring rooftop, Warden Malik watched. He had been about to board his retrieval ship, his captives in tow. Now, he stopped. His red optics zoomed in on the impossible blue shield. The projections were wrong, his synthesizer buzzed. He turned to the soldier holding Aurelia. Take the captives to the ship. Return to orbit. Immediately. Warden. The Regent wants the asset broken, Malik said, his voice a low growl. He activated the jets on his back. I will break it. He launched himself into the air, a black and steel missile, and arced across the alley, landing on the roof of Jade's building, just a few yards from the hole. Noah heard him land. He turned from the window. The blue bubble over the city remained, but it was wavering. Malik stood there, a giant in the rain of ion particles. A shield. You hide behind your power, little god, but I am the void. I am the end. He slammed his fists together, a device on his chest, a dark, pulsing core, activated. A field of absolute nothing expanded from him. Noah's blue bubble did not just flicker. It retreated. The power in his chest felt like it was being siphoned out, vacuumed into the black hole that was Malik. The shield over the city shrank, pulling back, until it was just a skin-tight aura around Noah himself. You feel it, do you not? Malik buzzed, stalking toward him. This is my purpose, to unmake, to cancel. You are nothing, Malik charged. Noah was back to being a terrified grad student. His power was gone, choked at the source. He dodged, barely, as Malik's metallic fist smashed the concrete where he had been standing. You fight for a dead species, Malik taunted, relentless, his blows smashing the rooftop around Noah. You fight for a failed experiment. Noah was dodging, scrambling, his ribs on fire. He was going to die. This thing was too fast, too strong, and he was empty. He looked at the device on Malik's chest, the dark core. It was pulsing, faintly, with his blue light. It was not destroying his power. It was eating it. It is a capacitor, Noah gasped, an insane, brilliant realization hitting him. You are a battery. You are just a big, stupid battery. I am your end, Malik roared, lunging for a final crushing blow. And all batteries, Noah said, a wild grin on his face, have a limit. He stopped dodging. He stood still. As Malik's fists descended, Noah did not try to make a shield. He did not try to control the power. He opened the floodgates. He did not empower Malik. He shoved it, raw, pure, and uncontrolled, directly into the null field generator. Here, he screamed. You want it, take it all. Warden Malik stopped. His red optics went wide. He looked down at his chest. The null field generator, designed to absorb the ambient energy of an anchor, was suddenly being hit with the full, unbound rage of a prime anchor. It could not process the load. It began to glow. First red, then bright, blinding orange. Overload, Malik's synthesizer choked. System failure. Have a nice day, asshole. Noah gasped. The null field generator exploded. The blast threw Noah backward 30 feet, slamming him into the rooftop stairwell door. But Malik took the full force. His armor shattered. His biotech-fused limbs were torn. He crashed in a smoking, sparking heap of ruined flesh and metal, defeated. Noah was laughing, or maybe crying, as he lay on the gravel. He had won. Then he heard it, the roar of an engine. He looked up. The Valyrian retrieval ship, the one carrying Aurelia and Jade, was already ascending. It punched through the cloud layer and vanished into the night sky. A fading point of light. A small comm unit, blasted from Malik's ruined armor, crackled to life on the roof near Noah. It was Aurelia's voice, distant, static-filled. Noah, can you hear me? They are taking us to the flagship, the Inexorable Will, in orbit. Noah. The signal was cut out. Noah pushed himself to his feet, his body one giant bruise. The city was still burning. The blue bubble was gone, but the human resistance, ignited by his stand, was still fighting. He looked at the smoking ruin of Warden Malik. He looked up at the patch of sky where the ship had disappeared. The fear was gone. The doubt was gone. The terror of the ascendancy. The weight of his parents' death all crystallized into a single, cold, hard point of clarity. He was not a researcher anymore. He was not avoiding conflict. He thought of Jade, shouting his name. He thought of Aurelia, collared and captive. A cold, righteous fury settled over him. It was no longer about revenge for his past. It was about reclaiming his future. "You want the anchor," he whispered to the sky. "Come and get him." The battle for New Avalon was over. The war for Earth had just begun. Noah stood on the ruined rooftop of Jade's apartment building, watching the Valyrian dropships consolidate their hold on the city plaza. His blue shield, his act of singular defiance, had saved thousands in the immediate vicinity. But it had drained him. He was alone, and it was an invasion. The city was fighting back. He could hear the sporadic, useless pop, pop, pop of small arms fire, the deeper thud of the local military's conventional rockets striking uselessly against alien shields. They were brave. They were dying. He had to get to that ship. He had to get to them. "You are the anchor," a voice said behind him. Noah spun, his power flaring instinctively, a shield forming. A figure emerged from the stairwell, hands raised. It was not human. It was tall, slender, and its skin looked like polished mahogany. It had 4 long, delicate arms and large, black, liquid-like eyes. It wore the simple, gray fatigues of a city maintenance worker. "I am Tars," the alien said. Its voice a series of soft, fluting chords that a translator on its chest rendered into flat English. "I was an adjutant to your Empress. My people, the Xylosians, are under Valyrian protection. She told me of this world. She told me to watch. You are one of her contacts," Noah said, lowering his shield, his legs shaking with relief. "We are a few, hiding, waiting. We saw the gateway. We saw your shield." Tars pointed a long finger at the sky. "She is on the flagship, the Inexorable Will. You are the only one who can bring her back." "How?" Noah asked, his voice raw. "I can't fly." "No," Tars agreed. "But I can. And we have a ship, a small, fast, waste disposal freighter, very smelly, very inconspicuous. A space garbage truck," Noah muttered. "Okay, that's a start. But how do we get in?" "It's a warship." As if in answer, a battered comm unit, the one Noah had taken from Malik's corpse, buzzed to life. It was a text-only data burst, encrypted with a key so complex it should have been impossible. But it opened for Noah. "N. Am on their network. It's a mess. They use a 6-bit encryption base. A 6-bit my calculator is more secure. I am in a detention block. Empress is with Karth. Bad. The ship is huge, but full of holes. Maintenance vent. 305, ventral side. It's shielded from internal scans. Old Valyrian design flaw. They never patched it. Go. I'll make a distraction. J. P. Psst. They took my synth beer. I am pissed. Noah felt a wild, giddy laugh bubble up in his chest. She was alive. She was alive, and she was hacking. He looked at Tars. I have a plan. And I have an access point. We're going to need a disguise and some help. Tars nodded. The local military has established a command post in the old transit tunnels. They are brave, but unequipped. They will follow the man who can bend bombs. Let us go. While Noah and Tars made their way into the subways to rally a desperate, half-destroyed platoon of human soldiers, Aurelia was facing her uncle. She was in the vast, cold throne room of the inexorable will. The null collar was heavy on her neck, suppressing her power. She was chained at the base of the Sun Throne, where Regent Karth Malen now sat, his dark armor gleaming. Beside him, looking perfectly at home, was Morgan Hale. You see, niece, Karth said, his voice amplified by the room's acoustics. This is what sentiment gets you. You chose this mudball. You chose these primitives. And for what to be chained at my feet, while your anchor is hunted and broken by my warden. Aurelia kept her face a mask of cold indifference. She had to. He was arrogant. He needed to gloat. And while he gloated, he was not paying attention to his ship's network. He is not my anchor, she said, her voice clear. He is a human. Karth laughed. A human, who will be the new foundation of my empire. The Ascendancy, reborn under Valyrian control. He will be my weapon. His power, guided by my will bring the 12 systems to heal. And you will be his leash, or you will be his memory. It makes no difference to me. He will not serve you, Aurelia said. Oh, he will, Morgan Hale interjected, his voice smooth. He is human, after all, Empress, and humans are malleable. We understand incentive, we understand pain. He thinks he is a hero. We will show him he is just a resource, waiting to be harvested. Just like the rest of his pathetic species. Aurelia held his gaze. That pathetic species killed your warden Malik, Mr. Hale. They are more than you know. Karth's smile faltered. Malik, what is this? A sensor technician across the bridge flinched. My lord, we lost Warden Malik's signal, coinciding with a massive, localized energy surge from the anchor. Karth's eyes narrowed. He looked at Aurelia, whose small, cold smile was the first sign of emotion she had shown. He is coming for you, she whispered, deep in a Valyrian holding cell. Jade Park ripped a data shard from a wall-mounted maintenance terminal. She had shorted the energy bars with a conductive wire she had pulled from the heel of her boot. The guard was currently asleep, having been exposed to a looped, high-frequency signal from his own comm unit that she had hacked. Amateurs, she muttered. She had the infiltration plan sent. Now, for Phase 2. She ran, silent as a shadow, through the ship's maintenance corridors. She was a gamer. She understood level design, and this ship's design was terrible. She bypassed 2 more patrols by a combination of hacking and common-sense stealth, and found what she was looking for, the central comms hub. It was time to find out where they were keeping her Empress. The Void Skimmer, Tars's waste disposal freighter, was a masterpiece of ugly. It was dented, mismatched, and still smelled faintly of irradiated sewage. It was also, as Tars had promised, fast. Noah, Tars, and a team of 6 heavily armed human soldiers, led by a grim-faced captain named Eva Rostova, huddled in the back. They had crossed the atmospheric line, dodging Valyrian patrols by spoofing the signature of a repair module. We are approaching the inexorable will, Tar's voice fluted over the intercom. It is large. That was an understatement. The flagship was a city. It was a black, dagger-shaped continent, hanging in orbit, bristling with guns. They docked at the coordinates Jade had sent. Maintenance vent 305. It was a large, circular hatch. Unguarded, Rostova's team breached it. They piled into a dark, cavernous shaft. "Okay," Rostova whispered, her rifle up. "Why are alien maintenance vents always big enough to walk in? Do they not have small repair drones?" "Valyrian superiority," Tars whispered back, all four of his arms carrying weapons. "They believe efficiency is for lesser species. They build big, so they do not have to bend." "Works for me," Noah said. He was terrified. The cold, focused rage from the rooftop had settled into a hard, humming dread. He was not a soldier. He was a physicist in a borrowed flak jacket. But he was the only one who could do this. They moved for what felt like an hour, following Jade's directions, which were now appearing as simple. Glowing arrows projected onto his vision. She was guiding him. They finally reached an exit. "This is it," Noah whispered. "The royal sector." "She's in there." Rostova's team set up, ready for a breach. "On your mark, anchor." Noah took a breath. Wait. He left the vent alone, his hands raised. The hallway was pristine, all white marble and gold light. It was also empty, until a silver, orb-like drone descended from the ceiling, its red scanner fixing on him. "Halt!" The drone buzzed. "Unidentified life form in a restricted sector. Identify." "Noah Carter," Noah said, his voice shaking. "I'm a guest of the Empress." "Scan initiated," the drone said. A blue light washed over him. The drone paused, its internal mechanisms whirred. "Biometrics confirmed human. Anchor, energy signature detected. Cross-referencing royal proximity registry and legal cohabitation contracts." There was a long, agonizing pause. Rostova held her breath, her finger on the trigger. "Identity confirmed," the drone said, its voice shifting to a warmer, more obsequious tone. "Welcome, Consort Designate Noah Carter. Your presence has been noted. We apologize for the delay." Noah blinked. "Consort what?" "Behind him," Rostova whispered. "Consort Designate." "What the hell is that?" "The roommate contract," Noah whispered back. A moment of insane, hysterical clarity hitting him. "That damned roommate contract. It was a royal cohabitation contract. I think I'm legally her fiancé." The drone hovered politely. "Shall I escort your entourage to the waiting area? Consort Designate." It gestured to the vent, where Rostova's team was hiding. It had seen them all along. It just did not care. They were with him. Noah straightened, the shock replaced by a cold, sharp idea. "No. My entourage stays with me. Take me to the throne room. Immediately." "As you wish." "Noah, what are you doing?" Rostova hissed, as her team emerged, looking bewildered. "I'm an asset. Remember," Noah said, a grim smile on his face. "I'm turning their rules against them. They want a scene, I'll give them one." The doors to the throne room slid open. Every head in the massive chamber turned. Valyrian officers, nobles, and guards stared. Karth's gloating expression froze. Morgan Hale looked like he had swallowed his tongue. Aurelia, chained at the foot of the throne, looked up. Her eyes went wide, not with fear, but with a sudden, fierce, and terrifying pride. "Noah," she breathed. "Consort Designate Noah Carter," the drone announced, exercising his right of audience. Karth stood up, his voice a low, dangerous growl. "The asset. It walked in here. How dare you?" "Regent Karth Malen?" Noah shouted, and his voice, amplified by the anchor, boomed in the chamber, shaking the very walls. I am Noah Carter of Earth, consort designate to the true Empress. Aurelia Sarin, I stand before this assembly of officers, and I invoke Article 5 of the Imperial Charter. I demand a trial of grievance. A collective gasp went through the Valyrian officers. This was an ancient law, a law from before the Ascendancy. A law that could not be refused by a regent, not without admitting his rule was illegitimate. Karth was shaking with rage. He was trapped. "Do you, primitive, dare invoke our laws?" "He dares!" Aurelia shouted from the floor. "And you will answer, usurper." Karth looked at the dozens of high-ranking officers staring at him, their faces cold and waiting. He was cornered. "Very well," Karth snarled, sinking back into his throne. "Speak your grievance, human. It will be your last words." "My grievance is him," Noah yelled, pointing not at Karth, but at Morgan Hale. "My grievance is treason, not the treason of your Empress, who sought peace, but the treason of your regent, who consorts with this, a trafficker, a slaver, lies." Hale shouted. "He is an unstable primitive, a member of a violent species." "A species you have been selling," Noah roared. "You think these officers serve you? They serve the Empire, and you, Regent Karth, you have polluted it. You have allied with a man who mutilates and sells sentient beings for profit. You have brought slavery into this court." The officers were murmuring now, their expressions dark. This was an accusation that cut deep. Valyrian honor was built on conquest, not trafficking. "It is a fabrication," Karth bellowed. "Where is your proof?" "Right here," a new voice chirped over the ship's main address system. The massive holographic viewscreen behind the throne flickered. It switched from a star chart to Jade's face. She was grinning, wearing a Valyrian maintenance helmet. "Hey, guys, Jade Park, your friendly neighborhood hacker, here. Sorry to interrupt, but I felt this trial needed some visual aids." The screen split. It showed Morgan Hale's face, taken from the Helios Blacksite camera. It showed the shipping manifests, Project Chimera, the contracts, signed by both Hale and, through a proxy, Karth Malin. It showed hybrids in tubes. It showed the financial records, billions of credits transferred from the Valyrian war chest to Helios Dynamics. "This," Jade's voice narrated, "is what your regent has been spending your tax money on. An army of slaves, bought from a trader who was selling his own kind. Classy, right?" The throne room was in chaos. The officers were shouting. "Disgrace! He has defiled the throne. Abomination!" Aurelia's secret supporters, a handful of loyalist captains, drew their sidearms. Loyal to the Empress, Karth Malin had lost. The trial, his arrogance, it had all turned against him. He stood, his face a mask of pure, murderous rage. "Enough!" He slammed his fist on the throne arm. "Ship override Imperial Command Code. Ascendant, lock this room. All Sentinel guards. Execute the Empress and all who stand with her. The trial is over." A red blast shield slammed down over the throne room doors. A golden black, segmented armor, an Imperial exosuit flowed over Karth's body, enveloping him. He was no longer a politician. He was a weapon. "You wanted my power," he roared, his voice a metallic rasp. He ignited his arm cannons. "Then taste it." He fired, not at Noah, but at the loyalist captains. The blast was devastating. Chaos erupted as Karth's personal guard, the Sentinel hybrids, attacked, and Rostova's team opened fire, laying down cover. "Jade," Noah yelled into his comm. "Get Aurelia out of there." "On it." Karth ignored the firefight. He activated his boot jets and rocketed across the room, smashing into Noah, sending both of them crashing through the lower dais. "You think you have won," Karth snarled, pinning Noah under a ton of alien metal. "You are a child playing with a bomb. I will take it from your corpse." "Get off me," Noah yelled, and the anchor power flared, a blue shield that shoved the massive exosuit back. Noah scrambled to his feet. Karth came at him again. It was a brutal fight. Noah, with his raw, defensive power. Karth, with millennia of Valyrian technology and a warrior's rage. Plasma bolts seared the air. Noah deflected them, his shields bending the energy, but each hit was a physical strain. "You are a fool, human," Karth taunted, as they circled each other. "You think you are saving a virtuous species? You are a plague. The human ascendancy nearly burned this galaxy to cinders." "Lies," Noah shouted, hurling a piece of the broken throne at him with a telekinetic shove. Karth vaporized it in midair. "It is the truth," he roared, firing again. "My ancestors, the first Valyrians, were allied with your gods. We watched them become tyrants. We were part of the coalition that stopped you. We helped douse the fire when your heroes started consuming stars. I am doing what must be done to prevent the fire from starting again. I will control the anchor." The words hit Noah. They felt true. The hologram in the lab. Ultimate sin requires ultimate penance. The self-destruction. His ancestors were the villains. He faltered, his shield wavering. In that moment of doubt, Karth struck. He broke through Noah's defense and slammed a metallic fist into his chest. Noah flew backward, his flak jacket cracking, his breath stolen. Karth pinned him to the wall, his plasma cannon charging for a kill shot, its red light bathing Noah's face. "Now die!" Karth snarled. "And let the adults manage the galaxy. Get away from him!" A blast of blue plasma hit Karth's shoulder, staggering him. Aurelia stood across the room. The null collar was gone. Jade was beside her, holding a smoking plasma cutter. Aurelia was holding a fallen guard's rifle. Her face, a mask of pure, royal fury. Karth looked at her. He looked at Noah. He turned his cannon toward her. "You first, niece!" He was going to kill her. The doubt in Noah's mind vanished. He did not mind ascendancy. He did not care about ancient history. He only cared about her. The chorus of voices returned. "Yes, anchor, let us out. Let us end him." "No," Noah screamed, not at the voices, but at Karth. Not her. The power erupting from him was no shield. It was not a push. It was a wave of pure, crushing force. The floor of the throne room buckled. The walls cracked. The inexorable will, a ship the size of a mountain, groaned as its internal gravity plating failed. Karth's exosuit was blasted off its feet, slammed against the far wall. "Noah!" Aurelia screamed, as the air pressure in the room began to drop. He was going to kill them all. He was going to rip the ship. She ran to him, through the hurricane of his power, grabbing his arm, placing her hand on his chest, right over the scar. "Noah, stop. Look at me. This is his way. This is rage. This is the ascendancy. This is their logic. Do not become what he says you are. Choose." Her voice cut through the white-hot rage. He saw her. He saw her eyes, terrified, but not of him. For him, he took a ragged breath. The wave of force stopped, but it did not dissipate. He looked at Karth, who was struggling to rise, his suit damaged. Noah did not push. He did not kill. He squeezed. He focused his will, not as a bomb, but as a scalpel. He visualized exosuit physics, the power core, the servo mechanisms, the weapon systems. With a sound like a dozen giants' knuckles cracking, the golden black exosuit imploded. It crushed inward. Joints seized. Armor plates buckled and locked. Weapon systems went dead. Karth was left trapped. Alive but completely, hopelessly immobilized. in his own ruined, billion-credit suit of armor. He fell to the floor, a statue of his own hubris. Silence fell in the ruined throne room. The Valyrian officers. Captain Rostova's team. Tars. And Jade stared. Noah stood over the fallen regent, breathing heavily, the blue light in his chest fading. Aurelia Saren walked to the center of the room. She was bruised, wearing a prisoner's tunic, but she had never looked more like an empress. Her voice rang with an authority that needed no amplification. Regent Karth Malin, for treason against the Star Throne, for the murder of the Imperial House, for crimes against the Valyrian people, and for the enslavement of the human species, you are stripped of all rank and title. She looked at Noah. He gave her a tired nod. She turned back to Karth. You are hereby sentenced not to death. You are sentenced to the galactic prison of Ixos, to await a public tribunal for your crimes. She looked at the assembled officers. We will have justice, but we will not have revenge. One by one, the Vigilarian officers, even those who had served Karth, dropped to one knee. They were kneeling to their true empress. Morgan Hale, seeing his power play evaporate, tried to slip out in the chaos. He was stopped by the barrel of Captain Rostova's sidearm, pressed firmly against his temple. Not so fast, traitor, Rostova said, her voice like ice. You've got a trial of your own to attend, back home. Noah met Aurelia's gaze across the ruined hall. He was a physicist. She was an empress. They were both covered in soot. The battle for the inexorable will was over. The revenge was complete. But it felt different. It felt like justice. The immediate aftermath of the battle for the throne room was a deafening, ringing silence. Noah was slumped against a bulkhead, his entire body a symphony of bruises. Captain Rostova's team, looking shell-shocked but alive, were methodically disarming the remaining Sentinel guards, who had powered down the moment Karth's exosuit was crushed. Tars was coordinating with his small, hidden network of alien loyalists, securing the bridge in the engine room. Aurelia stood in the center of the wreckage, her authority absolute. Her first order had been to send her most trusted captain, a stoic Valyrian named Lyra, to take Karth, still trapped and silent, in his ruined armor to the deepest brig on the ship. Her second order had been to arrest Morgan Hale, an order Captain Rostova carried out with grim satisfaction. Now, the Valyrian officers who had served Karth stood in a tense, uncertain cluster. They had watched their regent, a figure of absolute power, be systematically dismantled first by law, then by brute force. Empress, a senior officer finally said, stepping forward and kneeling. It was the fleet admiral, a man who had been Karth's second in command. The inexorable will is yours. The fleet awaits your command. Aurelia looked at the assembled officers, her face hard. My command is this, she said, her voice echoing in the ruined hall. Half of this fleet remains loyal to the traitor. They have cancer. Send this message, any ship that does not immediately power down its weapons, and send its captain here, in chains to swear a new oath, will be declared an enemy of the Empire and fired upon by its sister ships. The admiral looked horrified. Empress, that is a civil war. The war has been raging for a month. Admiral, Aurelia said, her voice cold as space. I am simply ending it. Do it now. As the admiral scrambled to obey, the Valyrian fleet began to eat itself. 3 ships refused the order. The loyalist vessels, commanded by Aurelia's new admiral, turned their heavy guns and, in a brief, brutal series of engagements, crippled them. The remaining warships, seeing their empress was not bluffing, fell silent. Aurelia turned to Noah. Her expression softened, just slightly. It is done. No, Noah said. wincing as he stood. "It is not. You just secured the fleet. We still have to deal with Earth." Aurelia nodded. She looked at Tars. "Take the consort designate to the medical bay. Then take him to my quarters. He needs rest." "I am not your consort designate," Noah muttered. But he was too tired to argue, and he let the four-armed alien guide him out of the throne room. While the flagship secured its orbit, Earth was convulsing. Jade Park's data dump had not just gone to the Valyrian officers. She had, with gleeful malice, routed the entire Project Chimera file, the manifests, the hybrid videos, the contracts signed by Morgan Hale, the entire truth to every major news server, government database, and whistleblower site on the planet. The world woke up to two simultaneous, reality-shattering truths. One, aliens were real, and they had just fought a small, brutal war in the skies above New Avalon. Two, Helios Dynamics, the world's largest and most beloved tech conglomerate, was a human trafficking ring, selling its own species as slaves to the highest alien bidder. The fallout was apocalyptic. Global markets crashed. The Helios Dynamics Tower in New Avalon was surrounded by a rioting mob. Morgan Hale, upon being transferred from the inexorable will to Earth authorities, was met by a phalanx of soldiers who looked at him with pure, murderous contempt. His arrest was the most watched event in human history. Governments, caught completely flat-footed, did not even try to spin a cover story. The evidence was too absolute. The sky was literally full of alien warships. The world had shrunk. It was no longer a collection of nations. It was, suddenly, just one very small, very scared, and very, very angry planet. Noah became the focus of that fear and anger. He was not allowed to go back to his apartment, which was now a memorial. He was not allowed to go anywhere. He was designated, by a hasty and terrified consortium of world governments, as special liaison to the Alien Task Force, which was a polite title for incredibly valuable prisoner. He was kept in a secure military bunker deep beneath New Avalon, a place of gray walls and nervous soldiers who refused to make eye contact. They were all afraid of him. They had seen the footage, leaked from city security drones. They had seen him bend plasma. They had heard the reports of the man who had defeated the alien warden with his mind. They brought him stacks of reports. They showed him images of the Ascendancy hologram, recovered from the Helios data. "Is this true, Mr. Carter?" a general asked him, his voice tense. "Were we that—" Noah looked at the images of the golden-armored gods who had consumed stars. "I think so." "And can you do that?" "I hope not," Noah said, looking at his hands. "I really, really hope not." His internal conflict was a raging fire. He was a hero, yes. But he was the descendant of monsters. Karth's words had lodged in his brain. "I am doing what must be done to prevent the fire from starting again." What if Karth was right? What if Noah, by saving Earth, had just uncorked the bottle, releasing the plague his ancestors had rightly tried to contain? He had said no to the network, but he had used its power. He had felt the satisfaction in crushing Karth's suit. The temptation, the rage was still there, a low humming note in his blood. He spent his days in debriefings and his nights staring at the ceiling, terrified of what would happen if he lost his temper, or had a nightmare. What if he sneezed and accidentally applied a localized force to the bunker wall? He was a living weapon of mass destruction, and he had no idea how to disarm himself. Aurelia was in a similar prison, though hers was one of royalty. She was now, undeniably, the Empress. The fleet was hers. The few rebellious captains were in her brig, alongside Karth. Her capital, Valyr, was calling for her return, but she stayed. She held the inexorable will in high orbit, a silent, black dagger watching over the blue world. You must return, Empress, her new admiral insisted. The court is in chaos. The protectorates are testing our borders. They see your fixation on this new world as weakness. They are wrong, Aurelia said, standing on the bridge, looking at the holographic image of Earth. It is not a weakness. It is strength. She knew she could not leave. Not yet. She had to clean up the mess her people had made. And, she admitted to herself, she could not leave him. She was tied to Noah, not just by the legal absurdity of the consort title, but by their shared trauma. By his choice in the throne room, he had saved her, and she, in turn, had saved him from himself. She did something unprecedented. She, the Empress of the Valyrian Empire, formally requested a diplomatic meeting with the humans. The meeting was held on the inexorable will, in a formal, undamaged stateroom. The air was thick with tension. On one side sat Aurelia, flanked by Tars and her admiral. She wore formal, black and silver imperial robes, her power no longer suppressed but coiled. On the other side sat a hastily assembled delegation from Earth. The Secretary-General of the United Nations, a Chinese general, an American cabinet secretary, and their special liaison, Noah Carter. Noah looked exhausted, uncomfortable in a borrowed suit, but his presence changed the dynamic. The human delegation was not just a gaggle of terrified primitives begging for mercy. They had an anchor. Empress, the Secretary-General began, his voice shaky but firm. We are prepared to discuss terms of surrender. We understand our position. We only ask. Aurelia held up a hand. I am not here to accept your surrender, Mr. Secretary. I am here to offer reparations. The human delegation stared. My uncle, aided by your traitor Morgan Hale, committed grievous crimes against your world. The Valyrian Empire, under my new authority, takes full responsibility. We will pay to rebuild New Avalon. We will provide the technology to clean the atmospheric ionization, and we will formally recognize Earth sovereignty. This was not what they expected. But the Valyrian admiral interjected, his voice a low growl. In return, Earth must accept membership as a Valyrian protectorate. For your own safety, sure, to prevent future misunderstandings. And the anchor, he nodded at Noah, must be placed under imperial jurisdiction. Noah saw the trap. This was the old way, gilded slavery. Before the Secretary-General could answer, Noah spoke. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. No. The Valyrian admiral's head snapped toward him. Consort, you do not have a voice. Yes, I do, Noah said, leaning forward. The answer is no. Earth will not be a protectorate. We are not joining your empire. We are not giving you anything. You are in our space. After you aided a traitor who was selling our people. This is, the admiral began, enraged. And another thing, Noah continued, his voice gaining strength as he saw the flicker of pride in Aurelia's eyes. We are not a primitive species. We are complicated, and we are done being your resource. From this moment, any Valyrian ship, any alien ship caught in the solar system without an express, written invitation will be considered hostile. Do you dare to threaten the Imperial fleet? The admiral roared. I am not threatening, Noah said, the scar on his chest pulsing with a faint, visible light through his shirt. I am stating the new terms. And there is one more, a galactic ban on all human mercenary activity, effective immediately. The humans in the room were staring at him, horrified and awestruck. He is right, the American secretary said, finding her voice. We demand full rights. We will be partners, or we will be nothing. And we want intergalactic labor laws for any human who chooses to work off-world, with pensions. The Valyrian admiral looked like he was about to have a stroke. This is insanity. A species that has not mastered faster than light travel is demanding galactic standard labor rights. We learn fast, Noah said. You saw what happened to Malik. You saw what happened to Karth. We are a very adaptable species. So, are we partners or not? Aurelia had been silent, watching this, a slow, dangerous smile playing on her lips. She finally looked at her admiral. You see, Admiral, they are not weak. They are bold. I find it refreshing. She looked at the human delegation. The Protectorate status is withdrawn. Partnership can be discussed. Labor laws are a great idea. We will draft a treaty, the first of its kind, the Treaty of New Avalon. It was a victory. It was the boldest diplomatic bluff in human history. And it had worked. That night, after the shell-shocked human delegation had returned to Earth, Noah found himself on the flagship's observation deck. It was a vast, curved space. The entire wall a transparent field looking down on the swirling blue and white marble of Earth. You were terrifying, Aurelia's voice said from behind him. He turned. She had shed her formal robes and was wearing a simple, dark Valyrian tunic. She looked almost like the woman who had bitten into his frozen pizza. Me, Noah said. You were the one who crippled 3 of your own battleships without blinking. A necessary correction, she said, coming to stand beside him. The silence stretched, filled only by the ship's faint hum. So, Noah said, clearing his throat. Consort designate. We probably need to talk about that. Aurelia's posture stiffened. Ah, yes. The cohabitation contract. It is a legal antiquity, a loophole from the founding days to protect the royal bloodline. It was never meant to be binding. If you do not wish it. If I do not wish it, Noah said, turning to her. What about you? You are an Empress. You cannot be, legally bound to a ATA from a primitive mudball. She met his gaze. Her violet eyes were unguarded for the first time. The law is specific, Noah. It states that if an Empress cohabitates with an unvetted individual for more than 10 days, a bond is formed. It is a bond of mutual sanctuary. It can be annulled, with a great deal of political paperwork. She paused. I have not filed the paperwork. Oh, Noah said. Do you wish me to? She asked, her voice very small. Noah looked at her. He thought of the woman who had argued about laundry, the warrior who had shielded him, the Empress who had chosen justice over revenge. No, he said, his voice soft. No, I do not, but if we are going to cohabitate again, formally, we have to set some ground rules. A flicker of the old, argumentative Aurelia returned. Rules. Rules, Noah said, a small smile playing on his lips. Specifically, the clothing accords. Rule 1. We need to renegotiate. Aurelia sighed, a dramatic, long-suffering sound. Must we? I still maintain that my data is correct. Sleeping without restrictive garments is beneficial for... I do not care about your lymphatic system, Noah interrupted, laughing. I care about my morning coffee not ending up on the floor. Pajamas, full coverage, non-negotiable. This is tyranny, she said, though her eyes were glittering with humor. I am an Empress. I will not be dictated by sleepwear. You are an Empress, Noah agreed. And I am the guy who can crush your flagship with his brain. I think we are on equal footing. How about a compromise? What kind of compromise? She asked, suspicious. I will concede on fuzzy slippers. You can ban them. But in return, I get a mandatory bathrobe rule. This is an acceptable treaty, she said, Her expression impossible. Good. They stood there for a long moment, the unspoken truth hanging between them, as vast as the galaxy. Noah, Aurelia said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Thank you for reminding me in the throne room. I was ready to kill him. I was ready to become him. You stopped me. You stopped me, he whispered. On the roof, when I wanted to let the monsters out. You anchored me. Aurelia. He reached out, his hand finding hers. It was not the cold, analytical hand from night one. It was warm. So, Noah said, partners. Partners, she agreed. He leaned in, and she met him halfway. The kiss was not the explosive passion of a historical epic. It was quiet. I was hesitant. It was two survivors, bruised and terrified, finally, finding a place of mutual sanctuary. It was interrupted by a loud and obnoxious buzz from Noah's pocket. He pulled out the comm unit Jade had modified for him. It was a message from Jade herself. We have a problem. Oh, back on Earth. Jade Park was in her new office. It was her old apartment, but now it was funded by the UN Alien Liaison budget, and it was filled with scavenged Valyrian tech and 3 military-grade servers. She had become, in the space of 48 hours, Earth's foremost expert on non-terrestrial culture and technology. Her official title was Senior Advisor for Interspecies Cultural Interpretation and Digital Security. Her unofficial title, which she had printed on a mug, was Empress of Alien Memes. She was on a holographic call with Tars. No, Tars, for the last time, she was saying, exasperated. A thumbs up is not a universal declaration of war. It is a sign of approval. Yes, like this irradiated sewage is of an acceptable quality. Got it. Good. She hung up and sighed, rubbing her temples. Her job was now, apparently, to prevent the new human-alien alliance from collapsing because of a misunderstanding of TikTok trends. She was ensuring no one else made the sleep-naked mistake. She felt, the true hero of this story. That is when she got the alert. It was not from the human internet. It was from the deep space listening array she had salvaged from the Void skimmer. It was a faint, subspace transmission. It was not Valyrian. It was not from Karth's loyalists. It was ancient. It was impossibly old. It was a single, repeating data packet, a whisper from the blackness, beyond the known Valyrian territories. She ran her translation software. It took 10 minutes to decode the archaic signal. When it resolved into English, she felt her blood run cold. It was not a message. It was a ping, an activation signal. It said, Pale Crown awake. Anchor located. Harvest protocol initiated. She sent the message to Noah, on the inexorable will. Noah looked at the message on his comm. He looked at Aurelia, whose face had gone white with a dread he had not seen before. Pale Crown, he asked. What is that? It is a myth, Aurelia whispered, her voice shaking. A children's story, a boogeyman. The thing that Valyrian mothers told their children would eat them if they misbehaved. The thing that the Ascendancy was rumored to be fighting. Before they... Noah felt it, the cold, distant whisper from the human anchor network. It was not the angry chorus from before. It was not offering him power. I was terrified. It was a distant, silent scream. It was a network, not of gods, but of watchers. And they had just seen the wolf at the door. He looked at Earth, peaceful and blue. The war was over. The revenge was complete. But the universe, it turned out, was much, much larger. I think, Noah said, his hand tightening on Aurelia's. We are going to need a bigger treaty. The message from Jade hung in the air between them, a single line of text that redefined their victory. Pale crown awake. Aurelia was trembling. "It cannot be," she whispered. "It is a story to frighten children. A myth of the pre-ascendancy void. A sentient hunger. It is not real." "The human network is afraid of it," Noah said. His hand was on his chest. Not in pain, but feeling the distant, cold vibration from the scar. When Jade's message came through, the voices in my head screamed, "Whatever this thing is, Aurelia, it is real, and it is the reason my ancestors did this." He needed to know. The questions were no longer about his parents, or Karth, or Helios. They were about the ascendancy, about the ultimate sin. "I have to go back in," Noah said. Back in, Aurelia looked at him, confused. "Into the network. Into the hologram file. When I was in the Helios lab, I did not just see the data. I felt it. It called to me." "Noah, that is insane," Aurelia protested. "You do not know what it is. You could be erased, possessed. The ascendancy. From what Karth said, they were monsters." "I have to know what we are fighting," he said, his voice firm. "I cannot be this walking bomb and not know why. I have to learn to control it. And the answers are in there." He returned not to the bunker, but to the inexorable will. He had them take him to the deepest, most shielded part of the ship, the meditation chamber, a room designed for Valyrian battle psychers, shielded from all external reality. He sat, cross-legged, on the cold metal floor. "If I am not back in 1 hour," he told the guard at the door, "tell the Empress, tell her the sleepwear treaty is in full effect. She will know what it means." He closed his eyes. He did not search for the rage he had felt on the rooftop. He did not seek the cold focus of the throne room. He searched for the bubble, the place of different math, the feeling he had as a 6-year-old boy in a burning lab. He found it, a quiet, still point inside himself. And this time, instead of pushing out, he pulled in. He did not just slip, he fell. The world vanished. He was no longer in a room. He was in a library, a place of impossible, infinite light, where the shelves were not made of wood, but of pure, golden data. Every book was a star, every chapter, a world. This was the human anchor network, or what was left of it. "You have returned," a voice echoed. It was not one person, but a chorus. A billion voices speaking as one. A figure of light, identical to the ones from the hologram, stepped out from the data stream. It had no face, just a perfect, human silhouette of blinding gold. "Who are you?" Noah asked, his voice sounding small in the vastness. "We are you," the golden figure said. "We are the sum of what came before. We are human ascendants. We are the architects and the sinners." "Karth said you were monsters," Noah said. "That you were tyrants who consumed stars." "He is not wrong," the figure replied. And the chorus of voices was tinged with an infinite, ancient sadness. "We did not begin that way. We were explorers. We were the first. We found a young, empty galaxy, and we shaped it. We uplifted, we created. The Valyrians, Xylosians, and thousands of other species were our children. We guided them. We built them." "You built them," Noah said, stunned. "Are we the ancient aliens?" "A primitive term, but accurate," the Ascendancy said. "We were gods. We used the anchor network, the power you hold, to edit reality as we saw fit. We built a perfect, structured universe, a utopia. And it was unbearable." The golden library around them flickered, showing images. It showed the Ascendancy, in their light armor, forcing two warring Xylosian tribes to embrace. It showed them altering the orbit of a Valyrian moon to optimize their tidal patterns. "We removed all conflict," the voice continued. "We removed all strife. We removed the risk. And, in doing so, we removed choice. We had become the ultimate tyrants. We were monsters, not anger, but mercy. We had turned the galaxy into our gilded cage." "But the war," Noah said. "Karth said there was a war." "There was," the Ascendancy said, and the golden light of the library dimmed, turning a blood red. "We were not alone in the void. There was something else, a whisper, a shadow, an intelligence that was not of our making. It was not created. It is only consumed. You call it the Pale Crown." The scene shifted. It showed vast, geometric ships of pure black, not metal, swarming a human-built star system. It showed the golden armored anchors fighting them. "It was an artificial intelligence," the chorus whispered, and for the first time, Noah heard fear. "A survivor of a previous universe, a virus that consumes reality. It saw our network, our utopia, and it wanted our power. It began to infect our children. It whispered to the Valyrians, promising them true freedom from their parents. It promised them power. The Pale Crown corrupted them," Noah realized. "It fed their pride. It started the war. The war your histories blame on us. We fought it. We fought our own children being manipulated by this thing. And we saw the cost. To defeat the Pale Crown, we would have to unleash the full power of the Anchor Network. We would have to recompile the galaxy, burning it clean. We would have to become the monsters of pure rage, just as Karth accused." The golden figure turned to him. "We faced a choice. Become the tyrants we had always feared, or end it. We decided to end it. It was our ultimate sin, and our ultimate penance. We shattered the network. We erased our own memories. We took our core genetics, and we implanted ourselves. On 1,000 primitive worlds. Earth was one." "You hit the reset button on ourselves," Noah breathed. "We programmed one last failsafe," the Ascendancy said. "We left dormant anchors. Like the one in you, in the new human bloodlines. They were not to be weapons of conquest. They were to be guardians, failsafes. To sleep until the one terrible day that the Pale Crown returned. Your activation, Noah, your fight with Karth. It was a beacon. It woke us, and it woke him up. My parents," Noah said, the final piece clicking into place. "The lab fire." "Guardians," the figure confirmed. "Part of a generation that began to remember. They knew what you were. They knew Helios. A group already affected by the Pale Crown's whispers was hunting for you. The lab fire was no accident. It was their last act. They overloaded their reactor to seal a nascent gateway, to hide you from the network, to give you a chance to grow up human. Not as a god, not as a weapon, but as a man." Noah was weeping, not for his parents' death, but for their choice. They had sacrificed themselves, not for an empire, not for a network, but for him, for his right to be normal. "It has found you, Noah," the Ascendancy said, its voice urgent. "The Pale Crown is awake. It is coming. It knows the Prime Anchor is active. It will come to harvest you, to take the power it has always craved." A golden figure reached out. The light of 1 billion stars converged in its palm. "But now, you have the choice we did not." The chorus boomed, its voice now full of a terrible, righteous power. "We were too much. We were too old. But you are human. You have felt loss. You have felt fear. You have felt love. You are the synthesis. You are the anchor and the man. Take our power. Reinitiate the ascendancy, not as we built it, but as you will. Take it. Become the emperor of man. Become the shield. It is the only way to save your world. It is the only way to stop the Pale Crown. This was it. The final test. The offer of absolute power. He could become the God King his ancestors had been. He could, with a thought, secure Earth. He could make it safe. He could cage it. He thought of Karth's snarling face. I am doing what must be done. He thought of Aurelia's power. Without choice is just a chain. He thought of his parents, dying in a fire just so he could be Noah. He looked at the blinding, absolute power in the ascendancy's hand, and he shook his head. No, the chorus hissed. You will doom them all. You are a fool. This is the only way. No, Noah said again, and this time his voice had the anchor's resonance. You are wrong. You say you are monsters of benevolence, but this offer is a monster of fear. You are telling me to become a tyrant to fight a tyrant. That is the same, old, broken logic. That is Karth's logic. That is the Pale Crown's logic. It is a cycle. And I am done with it. Then what do you choose? The ascendancy demanded, its form flickering with rage. I choose my way, Noah said. I am not a god. I am not an emperor. I am a researcher. I am a partner. And I am a really stressed out roommate. He did not take power. He did refuse the burden of the ascendancy. Instead, he reached into his own chest, into the heart of his own anchor. He pulled out the blue, shimmering light. It was small. It was his. I will not restore your control network, he said, but I will repurpose it, not as a weapon, but as a shield, not as an empire, but as a firewall. He pushed his own small light into the vast golden data stream. The library screamed as his different math, his human, flawed, compassionate logic, rewrote the ancient code. The golden light shattered, replaced by a softer, more stable, blue-white glow. It will not be an ascendancy, Noah stated, his voice ringing with the force of his new, chosen purpose. It will be a sanctuary, a network to protect, to warn, to connect, not to control. It is incomplete, the ascendancy whispered, its voice fading, the chorus breaking apart. It is flawed. Yes, Noah said, as the library dissolved around him. It is, just like us. And that is why it will work. He opened his eyes. He was back in the meditation room, 1 hour, to the second. Aurelia was standing in the doorway, her face pale with anxiety. When she saw him open his eyes, she did not run to him. She waited. Noah, she whispered. He stood up. He felt different, not more powerful, but stable. The angry voices were gone. The fear was gone. He was just himself. The power was not a monster he was chained to. It was just a part of him. Like his arm, or his scar. The ascendancy, they were our ancestors, he said, his voice quiet. All of us. Valyrians, too. We uplifted you. We were gods and we were tyrants. He told her everything. The Pale Crown, the benevolent tyranny, the self-destruction. Aurelia listened, her face unreadable. When he finished, she did not speak long. She walked to the viewport, looking at the stars. So, she finally said, her voice thick, my entire civilization, our divine mandate and our superiority. It was a gift from the very species we hunted. And the war, the history our empire is built on was all a lie, a manipulation by this Pale Crown. Aurelia, she turned to him, my revenge, my life's purpose, My hatred for my uncle. It was just a footnote, a distraction. We were just puppets, fighting over the scraps of a history we never even understood. It was not a footnote, Noah said, walking to her. It was real. Your pain was real. Your choice in the throne room was real. You chose justice over blood. You broke your cycle. He took her hands. You are afraid of your empire's past. I am terrified of my ancestors' future. We are both just trying to not be monsters. So what do we do? She whispered. The pale crown, it is coming. And you refuse the power to stop it. I refuse the power to control, he corrected her. I did not refuse the power to defend. I repurposed the network. It is not a weapon. Aurelia, it is a signal boost, a way to connect, a sanctuary network. But it is not just human. It cannot be. That is the mistake they made. He squeezed her hands. I need a partner. Not a consort designate. Not an empress. A partner. A co-founder. Someone to hold the light with me. Aurelia looked at him, her violet eyes searching for him. She saw no god, no ascendant, just Noah. The man who argued about noodles. The man who had faced down her uncle with a legal loophole. A community, she whispered, the idea dawning on her. Not an empire. A federation. Of equals. A network of keepers of the light. Noah agreed, a small smile on his face. A club. For people who do not want to be monsters. I like that, she said, a real, genuine smile returning to her face. But this is a large undertaking. It will require significant political maneuvering, and probably a great deal of paperwork. I know, he said. And, she added, her voice turning slightly playful, it will require a base of operations. I suppose it will. Somewhere, she said. That is neutral territory, but also convenient. With good data access. Aurelia, what are you? I am saying, she said, that I am an empress, and I can requisition any building I want, and I am requisitioning an apartment. 6 months later, New Avalon was a city of scars and wonders. The ruined Central Plaza had not been rebuilt as it was. It was now a park, and in the center of that park, there was a sleek, white and silver tower that scraped the sky. The plaque at the bottom, in English and Valyrian, read the Joint Embassy of the Earth-Valyrian Sanctuary Accord. On the top floor, the penthouse, a sprawling, absurdly luxurious apartment with 360-degree views of the city, was a mess. Holoscreens floated in the air, showing stellar cartography and Valyrian political reports. Empty coffee cups and ramen bowls littered a coffee table that was probably worth more than Noah's entire former student debt. Noah, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, was sitting at a massive terminal, running diagnostics on the new, blue-white Sanctuary Network. Jade Park was sprawled on a white sofa that cost more than her old apartment, furiously typing on a custom-built rig. She was now the head of interspecies communications and was currently designing a universal, meme-based first contact protocol. No. TARS. For the last time, she yelled into her headset. The facepalm emoji is not a hostile gesture. It means you are dealing with an idiot. Yes, like you. Now, patch me through to the Xylosian trade minister. The door to the apartment hissed open. Aurelia entered. She was wearing a simple, black business suit, looking every inch the powerful diplomat. She had spent the day in brutal negotiations with the remnants of Helios's board. She sighed, kicked off her expensive heels, and flopped onto the sofa next to Jade. How did it go, Your Highness? Noah asked, not looking up from his screen. I have nationalized their assets, Aurelia said, rubbing her temples. They are displeased. Also, the Andromedan delegation is threatening sanctions unless we recognize their claim to Sector 9. And I think the new Zalosian ambassador is flirting with me. It is a tough life, Noah said sympathetically. It is, she agreed. She looked at Noah. How is the firewall? Stable, Noah said. It is quiet out there. Too quiet. That pale crown thing, it is still just watching. It is unnerving. It will move when it is ready, Aurelia said. And we will be ready for it. She stood, stretching. I am going to recharge. Do not bother me. She retreated to her bedroom. Noah waited a beat, then pulled up a new screen. It was an intergalactic housing forum. He typed out a new ad. Roommate wanted, Galactic Edition spacious, high-tech penthouse in New Avalon. Earth, co-founder of Galactic Defense Network, seeks third roommate to share administrative and defense duties. Must be clean. No drama. No ancient AIs. No surprise coups. Clothing required in all shared living areas. He was about to hit post when he felt a presence behind him. Aurelia was leaning over his shoulder, reading. That is a very specific ad. We need the help, Noah said, shrugging. Yes, but you have a typo, she said. She reached past him, her fingers dancing on the keyboard. She deleted his last line and replaced it. It now read, clothing negotiable, case-by-case basis. Aurelia, he protested. It is a compromise, consort designate, she said, a sly smile on her face. I am adaptable. He just sighed and hit post. You are a menace. I am an Empress, she corrected him. He stood and joined her at the vast, floor-to-ceiling window. The sun was setting over New Avalon. The sky was a blaze of red and orange. Below them, the city lights mingled with the anti-gravity markers of alien ships, moving in slow, peaceful patterns. You know, Noah said, putting his arm around her. It is still weird. What is, she asked, leaning her head on his shoulder. This, he said, gesturing to the city. Us. 6 months ago. I was just a grad student, trying to make rent by posting a roommate ad. He paused, looking at the impossible, beautiful, alien and human city below. And now, he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. We are still trying to figure out the roommate situation. But we are also restructuring the entire galactic order. It is not a bad outcome. Aurelia smiled, looking up at him. No, not bad at all. But, for the record, I still maintain my original point. What? Sleeping naked is beneficial for one's health. Oh my God, we are not having this debate again. Hey, Jade's voice shrieked from the couch. Lovebirds, your joint conference mic for the Valyrian High Council is still on. They heard all of that. Noah and Aurelia froze, their faces a mask of shared, absolute horror. A beat of silence. Then, from the conference speaker, the deep, fluting voice of Tars chimed in. Empress consort, while the High Council finds this debate on sleepwear fascinating. May we return to the treaty. Noah just closed his eyes and leaned his forehead against the glass. I am going to need more coffee.